Hello, everybody, and welcome to CCA Finals, Division 1 of all things. My name is Splatoon Lily, as you see on screen, the one, the only, and I am joined again, once again, by the one, the only, Nine Whole Grains. How's it going, Nine?
Oh, we're keeping that bit going? We're just gonna keep riding that one until it stops being funny?
I don't always be funny.
Oh, it'll always, okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
I guess
Fair.
Well, the screen says Raze. I guess so I'm joined by Raze. Nine will be on later.
Nine's on tomorrow. Yeah, Nine's on tomorrow with Austin.
Yeah, so if you're here for 9, you can have 9 2.0 and then 9 1.0 later.
Wait, so we're saying I'm 2.0. Why?
You're younger.
Okay. All right. Fair.
It's basic math.
Okay. Sure.
Are you ready, Raze?
I'm ready. I'm excited.
Ready?
I'm ready. I'm excited. I haven't watched that much CCA, but I do know a lot of the players who play in CCA because they run tournaments, and I also occasionally run tournaments. So don't worry. There's a reason that I won't get into here because it would be a podcast episode.
Mm-hmm.
So
who are we going to be seeing first, Raze?
First, we're going to be seeing Drexel, Dragon Splatoon, and USF Splatoon Gold. Two teams who, hold on, let me pull up the stats.
Ooh.
The leaderboard. Drexel.
No, okay, so this is the point where I stop you because Drexel University sounds like a fantasy university. There's no way that's a real name.
Yeah, especially with the Drexel Dragon Splatoon, like.
But it looks like we have Magic 8-Ball in chat who says, yeah, that's the team I coach, let's go Drexel. So I'm going to, instead of Googling it myself because that's boring, I'm instead going to ask Magic where Drexel is.
And Magic will be able to tell you.
Yeah, I'm choosing to ignore our producer on high who actually gave me the answer. I'm going to wait for Magic to give it to me because I said so. But either way, and then, so Drexel Dragon Splatoon. Very exciting. And USF Splatoon Gold, who I guess SF is South Florida, because they didn't want to, they want to take the shine away from South Carolina, you know?
Well, so if you want to take the shine away from South Carolina, there's the University of South California. So, like, they already have that locked down.
Sure.
But, yeah. So, but yeah. USF is currently ranked 11th in Division 1 against Drexel, who's ranked 6th. So, you know, the favor going to the university in Philadelphia. See, I won't ignore the producer who told us that. So.
I mean, fine. And I mean, it looks like we're getting right into things. Our team's already getting ready and prepped and picking their weapons, and we're going to take a look here now at the maps we're going to be seeing. I'm not expecting anything too wild and wacky from CCA. We tend to run some fairly standard map mode combos.
See, you say that, and I haven't fully immersed myself in the map pool, but there's Manta TC, which, while not being a super wacky mode, is not something you see every day. It's on the outskirts of what could be considered normal, but is a fun map and was a standard in kind of Splatoon 2. So it saw a lot of play there for all the...
It's been a standard in Splatoon 3 for about the past... Well, like 6 months ago. Like
sure.
6 or 8 months ago, I feel like TC Manta was everywhere.
Yeah, that's fair. But also, I think the most interesting part about this set is we have 2 donut maps.
Yes.
Now, what I mean when I say that is if we look at Umami Ruins and Humpback Pump Track, they have 2 center stages with then a ring around them. And if you control that ring, you control a lot of that center section.
So we also have a donut map in that Rainmaker you can go Duncan.
Okay, I like that. Okay. That was good.
Okay.
All right, getting into match 1 S Blaster and a decav. S Blaster, I favorite in the matchup personally, especially the purple one, given that Booyah Bomb just got buffed to be a better bubble shredding weapon. That being said, if decav can get its roll going, it will absolutely annihilate.
I mean, totally fair. We are seeing an awesome sword in here, and we're seeing a little bit that we saw in our stats earlier that I was excited about before the game was the S-Blast.
Yeah, Drexel's doing a fantastic job of getting on top mid here. Raze using Bubble to shut it down is really, really good. The heavy edit needs to start trying to get some forward momentum going, but Dooley going down means that Drexel's going to have to give up some space or reap what they sow.
Very true. We are seeing the junior dipping and dodging around this left and right hand side, just trying to hold control of those zones. They do manage to lose it, but their penalty's not terribly big. So, I mean, this early in the game, I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I want to see is this pencil on the side of USF try to cover top mid more. Because if this pencil can just assert itself onto the top middle of the map, the heavy edit doesn't really have a way to deal with it effectively. So the only thing that can deal with the pencil in the comp is like Crab Tank, and that's not going to be a super consistent threat on the side of Drexel. So I kind of wanted to see the pencil play more aggressively into them.
Fair. This is their moment. 3 down, just the Dooley's up, trying to hold that top mid a little bit, but we do see the members of Splatoon Gold coming in here and taking control of that top mid area. That pencil out, and the Crab Tank is going to create a nice little wall here. Maybe a little early to use some of these specials, but not bad by any means.
I mean, if you're going to have the sword just run in and get 2 with Bubble, you can do basically whatever you want. That being said, nobody followed the sword in for USF, which meant that while it traded 2, we didn't really get any tangible benefit from it because Drexel just respawned and they're back where they would have been in the first place.
We do see some fancy footwork here from the Doolies coming in on this left-hand side and then moving on over top. Is going to get picked off by Haya on that sword. But man, can we talk a little bit about the survivability of the painters on Drexel? Like, we've been seeing the junior and the edit just dipping and diving everywhere, managing to hold a lot of paint and a lot of space despite not holding a ton of ground.
Yeah, that's one of the things when you're playing junior and heavy edit. Yeah, when you're playing those weapons, it's really important staying alive because the longer you stay alive, the harder it is for the other team to like flip the zone. I know that seems kind of obvious to say, but it's something that I think a lot of support players can get lost in because they go, oh, everyone's dead, I'm just going to go commit a crime. And that's...
I'm sorry, that Zuko was a crime. They just lost 2 shots into the back of a pillow. That's so sad. Anyways, looking at it, we do see a bit of a scrap here in mid. USF is holding on to it fairly successfully, and Drexel's going to have to get in there fairly soon. They do have a 37-point penalty to have to tick down on, but they're definitely going to need a special or 2 before they can get in there. Do you think there's time on this map?
Oh, there's 100% time. If the Doolies can use Crab Tank, I think they can get a very good push going here. The one problem right now with Drexel's retake is their retake is from a singular direction. They're focusing dome and ramp, but they're not sending a ton of people down to the bottom right in this pit, or at least they don't have a lot of turf there, so it makes the angle much more easy to manage for USF. And, like, oh, Drexel used all their specials, and they just kind of bounced right off. USF just didn't really care about it. Because again, how does Drexel break in from one direction?
And this is one of those maps that is really hard to break in from. That said, 3 down on USF is definitely going to help them with the last member jumping out. So Drexel did manage to retake there. It felt like they managed to stagger things a little bit, unfortunately for themselves, but they waited out the specials just well enough that they had some resources to come back in with. Now, we see the members of USF forced to use their specials in spawn just to get out, but we did get 2 down on Drexel, so this may be their opportunity to come back in and cap that zone again.
That being said, the junior here is close to Bubble, so if we can get Bubble from the junior, then this is very holdable. That being said, Bubble doesn't look like it's going to be able to come out in time, and the S-Blast goes down on the side of Drexel. This game is looking very unlikely, especially with Decav popping Bubble on zone. I'm expecting this Decav to just kind of go in and get 3 right here, to be honest.
Yeah, we definitely needed Grace to get that bubble a little faster and to not give up so much ground to that decav. It's very hard to fight a decav with Junior. You kind of have to treat them like a dynamo and give them some space and roll bombs at them. But if we had gotten that bubble just a little bit quicker and then given some space from there, they might have been able to hold on to that zone. But the moment it was capped, I feel like 10 seconds left on the clock with a full cap and some players running at you, things get a little harder.
Yeah, the one thing I would really like to see from Drexel in this upcoming set is I want to see them be more aggressive. So for zones, it's okay to try and play that line and figure out like what's going on in terms of enemy positioning. But in like TC and Rainmaker, the two modes that are coming up next, you need to be more aggressive. You need to be taking space more aggressively, because if you're not taking space more aggressively, then how are we expecting to win the game? So I'm concerned because with the heavy edit, Drexel felt very slow. And that's one of the things where traditionally, if you're running a heavy edit, it's because you want to be a more maneuverable, aggressive composition.
Right.
So if we're not utilizing that resource properly, then it's going to be an uphill battle.
That is fair. I would like to note too, like, these teams, we have some stats here on win rates and stuff. And overall, USF comes out with a slightly higher win rate, but it's not that far apart. So these teams are fairly well matched in terms of statistics, assuming our stats are right. I'm just going to assume all the stats are right.
Yeah. And like the last game, it was close. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's an incredibly even set. I just like to pick on the loser, aka critique.
Aren't you supposed to love the underdog?
That's fair. I mean, I could also critique the winning team in saying, why didn't the pencil stand on top mid more? But that I also wasn't trying to come up with a well thought out critique for them.
Fair. Now, we did see a decav come out from USF that last set. Looking at it, Drexel sometimes plays a sword. Is sword a good matchup for decav, or would you leave that behind?
It depends. Mostly on what's going on around it. So it also depends on which sword. If we're talking like Stamper, I think Stamper has a better matchup into decav than Wiper. Wiper can, even though it can outmaneuver the decav, if the decav hits it once, it's all over. Here comes the Jet Squelcher. Oh, and Tetris. Okay, so we're just throwing everything from the last game away almost.
Yeah. Haya switching from that decav over to the zip casting sword. Very exciting. We do see a Tetra with the reef slider on the side of Drexel. Nothing out in here is like super controversial, but it's the combinations are interesting.
Yes, the interesting thing about Tetra, I want to see how they use their reef slider, because reef slider is generally just an anti-bubble weapon, but if you'll notice, USF isn't actually running any bubbles on this map. So we have a special that's generally considered as a specific counter, and it's not countering anything. So seeing how they are still going to get value with it is going to be very interesting for this game.
Absolutely. I'm kind of excited. That was a very strong open from Drexel, already clearing that first checkpoint, which is, I mean, to be fair, not super difficult, but we're back in a position now where we have essentially 3 down and some jumps coming in. If we could roll some bombs at that, that'd be nice, but the tower is still moving.
Yeah, Drexel is doing a fantastic job of, like, pushing the fight forward and then just dealing with any stragglers in mid and just trading stuff out consistently. That being said, USF Gold had cooler, so these trades are going to be advantageous for USF more than they are for Drexel. But Drexel has specials coming online. They can keep this push going very easily if they get bunker control. That is the position you need on this map to push, is bunker. So seeing how the teams approach that is incredibly important.
Seeing that Dooley going down holding the reef slider makes me so sad. To pop that and just like run over everybody in front of you would have been very helpful at that moment. Some trip strikes coming out from Drexel trying to hold on to this first checkpoint, but we are going to have to see some people in their bunker in order to do that. Haya making quick work of anyone who was up there, and they're setting themselves up for a pretty decent push.
Yeah, USF is in a fantastic position. The bubble over bunker wall for Drexel is going to be really good. Oh my gosh, okay, so yeah, they just used it to instantly retake bunker, and that was that. The push ends, more trip strikes coming out. This T-Tech is absolutely farming them, which is slowing USF Gold down a lot. Now the last two people are on tower, and the push just falls apart here, I think.
Gray's doing a fantastic job with those trip strikes for sure. Like, not even, I feel like a lot of people feel like they have to throw them at a target, but just throwing them at choke points, like the choke point can be your target. And getting them in those choke points just to delay things and make people back up a little bit is just as important as throwing them at tower.
Yes. All right, I'm going to call out the heavy edit. I've seen them die a lot. And I understand that the other team has a very good composition for dealing specifically with the heavy edit, but my man, you got to get coolers. Actually, because if we're not getting coolers and the other team is, like, this app will be putting coolers in aggressive positions and trading stuff out. It's going to make this an uphill battle. They're going to make your life very hard, and they are not going to feel bad about it. And we need to start making them feel bad back.
Mm-hmm. It is worth noting that in one of those pushes, they did manage to take lead. USF, that is. A very small lead, just a 4.1. Haya being a menace on this tower. Maybe MVP right there.
Yeah, that triple was absolutely huge. 2 with the slash on tower, just stopping it dead in its tracks for a push that was going to be very good for Drexel with 2 specials coming online. But Drexel just can't find their footing this game. USF is just doing a fantastic job of being slippery and aggressive and never in the same place. Like, how do you stop something? It's like trying to fight water. USF is just continuing to go around and around and never giving you the purchase you'd like if you're Drexel.
Now, I will say this map is kind of anyone's game until you clear that second checkpoint, and as I say that, of course, the second checkpoint is clear. So we are favoring USF a little bit at this moment. That is not to say that this game is over. 30 seconds on the clock, we're already into third checkpoint. It's definitely going to be rough for Drexel, but not impossible.
I mean, you say it's not impossible, but they're about to get KO'd.
I mean, we just needed someone to hop on that tower, you know?
I know it's...
Hear me out. We had 3 people above the tower shooting down at it, and at least one of them need to hop down there.
I agree. Drexel needed to put a physical body on that tower. The problem is that the people jumping into USF continue to kill the people on the tower. So what Drexel needed to do to stop that push was to put everyone on the tower, with the exception of maybe the heavy edit. That's one of the things where tower control, in its intricacies, will always drift 1 point since someone got off it. Meaning, if Drexel stopped the tower at 1 with nobody on the tower, it would drift into KO. That's why it is incredibly important. Like, rule number 1, if you're trying to stop a push as the defender, you need to physically put someone on that tower. And then if that person gets splatted, you need to put another person on the tower. You keep going until you either have no people left or have lost the game.
Now hear me out. Have a Tetra drop down there. Drop a bomb on the tower. Suddenly everyone explodes.
True.
And the real trick there is that you drop a tower or a bomb on the left or the right side and you shoot at the opposite side. So they just don't have options. And then everything's fine. But yeah, I think there was just a little bit of a misplay there, just trying to shoot fish in a barrel, but the fish are swimming really fast and you've only got really a couple bullets and they're precision, and the barrel's really big and something's a pole in the middle of the barrel so it blocks your shots, and you know, it's a very complex barrel.
Oh yes, the tower barrel, it moves. It's a very complex barrel.
It is.
That being said, USF again did a absolutely fantastic job never letting Drexel have the time to think about what they were doing. And then I think that's one of the reasons that they came out ahead, especially once they broke into street. Because they never gave Drexel the time to set up a defense in a cohesive manner. And that's one of the things where looking into a good team or a team who's going to win a lot of matches, that's very important. Because if you can keep your opponent playing your game, not doing what they want to do, not letting their shot get trip strikes, not letting the heavy edit get cooler, you set yourself up for success.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I honestly, like, I don't know. I was a little torn watching a lot of that because it felt like Drexel was doing a really, really good job, but not getting any ground despite it. And it may have just been that cooler factor. And Haya. I feel like Haya was an active detriment to the entirety of Drexel.
For sure. I had a fantastic performance, especially in game 2. It really came out where Haya just stopped a couple pushes that just should have happened.
Yeah, like Haya just jumped in and got 3, and you're like, well, okay.
Like, how did that happen, guys? What are we doing here? Yeah. I mean, there's no I guess I'll allow it. Haya says it's happening, so it's happening.
Fair.
Fair. And Drexel didn't really have a way to respond. I feel like USF might have been a poor matchup stylistically for Drexel.
It could be.
Because USF was, like, because they have Haya, had a lot more punching power.
Yes.
And I think Drexel, what I got from watching those last 2 games is they want to drag a game out to that 5-minute mark. They want to win by 5 or 10 points and just try and establish a solid line. Yeah. Like a immovable wall meets an unstoppable force.
Mm-hmm.
And the unstoppable force generally wins in Splatoon.
Yes. I will note too that, like, on that same kind of trend, like, we had the decav or the sword from Haya, but we didn't really have, like, an equal force to match it. Mm-hmm. On the side of Drexel, like, in terms of weapons that could put out quick damage and take out something like a sword, because, like, a T-Tech can put out quite a bit of damage pretty quickly, but not necessarily against a sword.
Well, so again, that's what leads me to believe they want to be an unstoppable force, because like, they had a lot of sustained damage output for, like, the Tetras and the T-Tech and the Splatling,
right?
But they didn't have any bursts, and USF just fully went in on burst with, like, Pencil and the Stamper, and they said, if we want someone dead, they will die.
Yes.
And there's no chance of them escaping. And Drexel didn't have that. And so I think that was one of the things that contributed is USF being slippery.
Yeah.
We're able to get out 1 shot or 2 shot and then remove, heal, go back in, and that kind of keeps that pressure going all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yeah. It's difficult.
Oh, absolutely.
And like we noted too, like Drexel was 6th seed against USF 11th. Now, that's not so big a difference that an upset there is unheard of. But it is interesting to see how those 2 teams played against each other, and that just being a stylistic difference makes sense.
Well, and it's also, I don't know for certain, maybe our producer will correct me, but those rankings might not necessarily be the seed. So it could be that match is very much closer, and then the wonderful event staff went, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. These teams are, like, here. It's like 6 and 7, or 7 and 8, and not 6 and 11.
I will say, though, looking at the leaderboard, it does say seed number, so maybe they should find a better term for their stuff. I didn't actually get any water in that sip. I'm just, like, dramatic.
You're just sipping the coffee, like sipping the tea. Is that gotta? Hey, stay hydrated. It's important. Yeah.
Hear me out. Off topic entirely, because I can do this, and I feel like it. Whenever we're at LANs or whatever, or whenever we're, like, on stream on camera, they're always like, make sure to keep your water bottles off screen or whatever. And I'm like,
so yeah,
stay hydrated.
So, well, the reason we do that on land is because we have like sponsor obligations and stuff.
It's a water bottle. No, if it's like a branded, like an Aquafina or something, like sure, keep that off.
Well, so generally there's a Walmart run happens, and like because we provide water bottles for commentators.
Really, I've never been provided a water bottle.
We have them. You're if you want one, you can have one.
I want you to know that I've been commentating lands since SNS 4, which was in probably 2018 or 2019. And have never been given a water bottle as a commentator, ever.
Again, we have them.
I'm offended.
Like, the first day, when we were unable to set up any more equipment, because normally there's normally some person gets there early, like the people who provide monitors, right? And then the people who provide our networking show up later. In between that time, a Walmart run happens where we get, like, a case of water and some snacks and any other like generic stuff, like maybe like Post-its and stuff like that.
Well, now I know, and I'll just ask next time. I'm because I always fill up my water bottle because there's never water. But now I'll just be like, hey, Raze, where's my water bottle? My free complimentary water bottle.
Well, so I'm not gonna give it to you. You would have to ask production.
No, I'm gonna ask you specifically.
Oh, you're gonna ask me specifically?
I'm gonna make you get it. Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
And you will. I know you will.
Well, yeah, of course I will. Yeah. Like, if I can help, I will help. That's why you TO because you want to help, not necessarily because you're.
It's also because we're friends or something, right?
Yeah, that's also true.
I feel like I could do that.
That's true. But I mean, like, if another commentator's like, hey, do you guys have water? I would be like, probably. And then go see if we have water. Like, provided I'm not, like, trying to make sure a setup runs or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
I'm listening. Hi, everyone say hi to my brother.
Hi.
What's up? We're in between games. It is. And if Cinder's away, you can let Sophie out. Sophie's gonna come yell at us in a sec.
Oh, let's go.
Very exciting.
Turn my computer on so she yells less.
So the cat will be on stream, correct?
Yeah. I mean, all she has to do is come in here and she'll be on stream, so.
True. Because, we will hear Sophie.
Yeah. She's coming out for the day. Sophie, now you know where I am. She's got to go look downstairs to see if anything changed in her domain.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Well, yeah, you have to know what changes in your dominion. Like, what type of ruler would you be if you were unaware?
Yeah.
Speaking of unaware, what are our maps for set 2? I'm unaware, and I want to be not unaware. Hold on, let me find the message. I think it's pinned. There it is. Okay. Ooh, it's Clamblot's ink blot for game 1. I put them together. Yeah. I put them together instead of...
I like it.
Yeah.
Inkblot clams is not my favorite clams, but it's not bad, you know?
No,
it's one of those like I'll put up with.
I think Inkblot clams is very interesting because if you can't split your team up, if you can't have a single person who's independent, then you have to run a 2-2 push where you push up the center ramp and then wrap the left side. But if you have a single person who's independent, like you have a star power or someone who's very mechanically skilled on your team, you can do a 3-1.
Yes.
Which I like much better. I like 3-1s.
No. Hear me out. 2-1-1.
Where is this third person going?
Bats.
Over Incline?
Yeah. Hear me out. Throw a blaster or a sword up there? Hilarious.
I mean, I'm not gonna... the sword would be a lot funnier than the blaster. The blaster actually wants to be on the plat.
Yeah.
Like ledges.
Yeah.
So, sword, yes. I think... I mean, the reason you don't see that very often is it just takes a lot of time to become relevant.
I mean, the reason you don't see it very often is because people are bad at it. But also, it's hard to pull off. But hear me out. You stick a crab on left stack, you send your rat up the incline while your main 2 with a football, so drawing attention, going up the main ramp. There you go.
I mean, my intuition tells me that that push is going to fall apart as soon as they touch plat because they don't actually have anyone covering them, which
That's
is
what the crab
the
is.
reason. Yeah, the crab is shooting physically on plat, but as soon as the people step foot physically onto plat, the support of the crab is now purely emotional. It is not actually shooting anyone who's going to shoot them.
Hear me out. I like emotional support.
Emotional support is great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with emotional support, but if you want to push to work well, you need a physical support. Like a good hug, you know? Something that does both.
Well, all of that said, we do know our maps for the next round, and we also know our teams for the next round.
Ooh.
We're going to be seeing some PSU blue versus some CSULB gold. Hang on, I'm going to guess what this acronym stands for without looking at it because I think that's funnier. Collegiate Splatoon University. Let's bow.
Let's bow. Also, this graphic is amazing. Though it shows the team images of who has moved on so far.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I tip my hat to the production staff. That's like,
I mean, can we just talk about the production in general?
Impressed.
Like, yes. CCA production is always really high level, and CCA production for the finals has been absolutely unhinged. Like, they number...
have 4 streams. 1 for each division.
Yeah. Yeah. The number of streams, the number of commentators.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Unhinged.
Yes. It is. Yes, you're absolutely correct. It is unhinged in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, cutting edge. And I don't even think that's that much of an understatement. But, yeah. These standings. All right, I have a question. I have a question for our producer. Did someone drop out? Why is there not... Okay, cool. So the producer has informed me that no one did drop out. It's just a little minor thing because I was wondering why in the 01 category someone was missing, and apparently the tech just had a little hiccup. Which, you know, with this many moving parts, if that's the only thing that goes wrong, I think I speak for all of the staff when I say that's a pretty good day.
Yeah. Oh no, one picture didn't load. We're fine.
Yeah, as someone who has been there, that would be a pretty good day.
Now, looking at these two teams for our leaderboard, not seed, I guess, leaderboard, PSU Blue is at 5th, and CSULB is at 8th. So, in terms of leaderboard, fairly even. And looking at their win rate statistics provided very helpfully by our stats team, we do have a 75-ish% win rate against a 59% win rate. So it looks like CSULB has been playing incredibly well in their games. A 75% win rate is wild.
A 75% win rate in a competitive setting is like tournament winning level win rate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for reference, like a 50% win rate is like good in solo queue, is generally considered like average.
Yeah.
So having a 75% win rate in competitive, where the skill is higher than in solo queue, where the competition is higher, is mind-boggling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't even really have the words to properly express how impressive that is.
We'll find some.
I'm struggling.
Find some talking, man.
The funny words. They're gone.
We'll figure it out.
Yes. Just like these teams, we'll figure it out. Maps 2 and 3 being Zones Hagglefish and TC Mako Mart. I hope we see TC Mako Mart. That my personal affinity as a player who likes to see things go absolutely off the rails.
Yeah.
Mako Mart is where things go absolutely off the rails. The kitty has come to join us.
Oh, hi. I turned your bed on for you, but I'm going to hold you first.
Switch to the camera. Yeah.
This is Sophie. Everyone say hi to Sophie.
Hi, Sophie.
She's deaf and can't hear you, but she appreciates the sentiment.
Yeah.
No purring.
See, this is... I would say words, but that would honestly...
There's nothing to say.
Yeah. There's nothing to say. There's a cat. We've got to enjoy the cat. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you want to go to your bed? It's nice and warm. Oh, hell yeah, she said. She has a heated blanket on the windowsill next to me that she likes to sleep on, and she just kind of melts, and there she goes. She just melted.
To be a cat with a heated blanket on the windowsill.
Right? Sophie's... So anyone watching wants to say hi to Sophie. She's a sweet old lady. She's like 16. She's deaf. I know. She's deaf, and she got a bunch of health problems, so she takes her medicine really good, and she likes heated blankets and ice cream.
Who doesn't like heated blankets and ice cream?
Right?
That's...
She just knows what all the good things are. We've been told that we've got 10 seconds to game, but who needs to watch the game when we can watch a cat instead?
Well, we are here to commentate a tournament, so we should probably watch Splatoon. That being said, I think the general sentiment is cat's good.
Cat's good.
Cat's good. So...
Anyways, getting into some gameplay, we are getting into our first match on that Clamblotz. We got some blue versus gold, but I think we're opposite colors right now, are we? Oh, are we actually correct colors? Oh, PSU blue, is playing on the yellow ink, and CSULB gold is playing on the blue ink. Very helpful.
So, this game is going to be very crazy. The reason it's going to be crazy is because it's anchorless, which means, by extension, both of these teams are going to do the thing they're doing right now, which is fight. And the team who fights more and who wins their fights is going to win. Again, incredibly obvious thing to say, but I think I favor I think I favor CSULB gold.
Yes, CSU is probably... I want to say that they've got an upper hand here. They do have quite a few longer range, high damage fighters in the S-Blast and the Slosher and the Gal, and then the N-Zap on both sides is going to kind of even out. Whereas on the other side, they're going to be facing a few more rat-type weapons, like the Shot and the Brush. So I think it really comes down to stability versus clutch.
Yes. So, that Brush, what it's going to do is it's going to try and run circles around PSU. Nope, PSU is the Brush. It's going to try to run circles around CSU, and if the Brush is allowed to run circles around them, then the Brush is going to win. That's kind of Brush's win condition.
Yeah.
But if CSU can keep the Brush adequately pinned down and having not fun, then they're going to have a much easier time. So,
absolutely. And I mean, if you asked me to pick a weapon that would do really well against a Brush, an S-Blast would probably be on my list.
52 is also pretty high on that list, too.
So we'll have to see how they pan out. Now, we are seeing CSU kind of backed up into their own spawn. Now, we don't have a ton of clams on the map just yet. This map is pretty notoriously rough for clam collection, so you kind of have to control the flow pretty well. We do see quite a few in the hands of PSU, so hopefully this means we'll have a push going soon, but before they can really breach that flat, they need another special.
Yeah. Well, so the one thing I want to see is PSU has been stalling out here because they only had one special, which gave CSU the time to get another special, and CSU took the initiative and tried to push back into mid. It didn't end up squaring out for them, but if I'm PSU, I don't actually want my opponent to take initiative. I want to take the fight on my terms, so the fact that we just kind of let the other team dictate the terms of the engagement with specials is causing me to raise an eyebrow.
Yes. We did see a little bit of rat behavior there from PSU as predicted, but not from the brush, instead from the tech going up into that bats area. Unfortunately, a little too late to be able to take advantage of the push that was happening and did go down. Now we are seeing CSU pushing up quite aggressively, taking a lot of this mid area without taking a lot of the paint, which is a really interesting
strategic decision.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, on this map, you don't really need to take a lot of the paint first. If you can get into the strategic positions like top left stack here, you can kind of hold ground while you're zapping paints.
Yeah, so Inkblot, to mention, these stacks are good, like strategically, because it's high ground. High ground in mid, and we look down on everything else, but PSU decided they don't need stacks. Stacks are for people who care about strategy. We're just going to brute force this and win our 1v1s, and that's what they did. They ran forward and they won their 1v1s. Unfortunately, they got it down to 58. Unfortunately, the push looks like it might end. That being said, the producer finds the 52 in the back line, who I missed, which I thank you for, but oh my word.
You remember when I said rat behavior? Anyways.
Yeah.
We are getting some real rat behavior in that ink line. I'm loving it. Now, not Drexel. That was last game. CSU kind of plowing into this opening up the basket without any hesitation. However, the problem is they all ran in there trying to get ground and none of them picked up clams.
Yeah, so now we're under basket with no clams. Someone might be on respawn to pick up the power. I hope so. Otherwise, this push is going to come to a quick end. Yep, power's picked up. It's jumping in. This slosher getting 2 here is amazing. More people jumping in. We have to jump down onto plat because how else are we getting clams? But
oh,
that was so close.
And so important. Oh my god.
Yeah, CSU almost brought it back with getting into bats, jumping the power clam back in. I think if a split second more had passed so that more clams would have been on the map, CSU wins that game.
Well, yeah, and hear me out, like that, the one downfall of the rat behavior of using the bats is that most of the time people forget it exists until someone uses it. So having used it for a couple times on PSU's side means that CSU was like, oh yeah, we can do that, and then tried it and almost worked out for them, quite honestly. Now I will say, like, looking back at some of that gameplay, because if you have stream open, there's a nice stream delay there, so you can watch a replay of the end. Very helpful. Unfortunately, a retreating teammate on CSU's side is actually what got that football shot. The football probably would have made it in if a retreating teammate had held their grounds instead of trying to back up, because they took scattered fire that was meant for the other player.
They took indirect fire.
Yeah. So if that teammate had been moving left instead of right, or if they had held their ground instead of backing up, that football probably would have gotten in and taken lead.
Oh, that's kind of soul crushing.
Right.
Like, just, and granted, they probably don't know it in the set, so they're not going to worry about it. But if you think that's what happens the game, it's how do you come back from that? But it was a very close game 1, so I guarantee you both these teams are still feeling good. And if they're both still feeling good, then we can be in for an absolute banger of game 2. Now, Clam Blitz is very suited for the slug it out, be aggressive style. Zones, on the other hand, really isn't. You want to set up a front line and just hold it. So I'm going to be interested to see if there's any changes, if we're going to see an anchor show up like a heavy edit or a pencil like we saw in set 1, or if they're going to continue to do anchorless and just keep slugging it out. Because slugging it out is very fun to watch. It's really awesome just watching people like explode. And that's very, very entertaining. But I would appreciate a little bit of strategy. A moment to take your breath and to really absorb what's going on in the game. Because it does make my job easier, being completely honest with you. But it's also what's the word I'm looking for? Refreshing. Because if there's too much fighting, it can just be overwhelming. And sometimes you need to take a step back.
Good talk. Good talk. I was definitely listening to that whole thing and not putting that.
You know? Yeah.
I'll put my camera back. Don't worry about it.
When in doubt, yeah.
When in doubt, look at the cat. Very important. Anyways, incredibly good match from the two teams. I definitely listened to that whole thing. Raze just said,
oh, absolutely.
And going into our next match,
Zones Hagglefish.
Yes, a Zones Haggle mainstay. I'm just gonna adjust my camera and fix it. Mainstay of pretty much every Splatoon tournament. It has
I think
Haggle.
It's like the equivalent of like Mako Mart zones.
Yeah. Like we still play Mako zones in 3, but I feel like I don't know. Like Haggle is just it now.
I think it's become kind of the poster child because a lot of important sets end up getting played on Hagglefish. A lot of important matches get played on Hagglefish. And the ironic thing is, as a player, I don't really like playing this map.
As a bubble player, I actually do kind of like playing it.
Yeah, so bubble player, opinion valid.
Yeah.
Because bubbles are so strong on this map. They're super, super strong, and that's one of the I play Blaster, so I have to deal with the ramifications of the bubble, which is why I personally don't like it very much, because as long as the team in control is standing in front of the zone, it's so hard for the attacking team to find a way in. That is, unless, of course, you go like bottom right and try to just drop in, and dropping into those fights kind of blind is, well, it requires a specific type of person.
Very fair. I would like to note in this current game, well, last game we went fully anchorless. This time we're both pulling out a pencil, which is definitely the go-to backline on this map.
Yes, it's the more traditional way to play this map. So the one thing I'm confused about, why did the brush not push forward? Why was it both the shots? Also, PSU Blue running double shot is an interesting strategic decision. Why did the brush not push forward? Like, in a composition where we have double shot, both of those things have the ability to influence from long distance, but the brush doesn't. The brush needs to be physically close to the people it's trying to harass. So why are we not trying to worm our way forward? Questions I will continue to ask myself for the rest of this game.
Well, we might find out eventually, but for right now, we're just seeing a pretty heavy scrap. PSU is in full control right now of the zone. Well, okay, hang on. PSU is in partial control of the mid area, and unfortunately having to give up some ground as the dueling whales in mid there pull some attention away. Now, this zone, I wouldn't say anyone's like in full. Okay, I was gonna say I wouldn't say anyone's in full control of what's going on here, and then we saw a pretty nice flank. So heads up to our producer for catching that and proving me wrong. I absolutely love to see it.
The spec cam operating goes insane. That being said, the interesting thing is the shots are playing the frontline duo, and the brush is playing more support-like, which seems counterintuitive, but it's what's been allowing PSU to hold this zone. Is these shots are going to scrap with other shots, and then the brush is coming in after the fact. So while it's unorthodox, PSU is finding a lot of good value from this. And, you know,
we're about to
I have to recognize game, you know?
Yeah, those strikes came in just a little too late, and one of them clipped, so unfortunately didn't quite get through there. But yeah, it kind of just worked. Like the shooters were scrapping with each other, or the mid lines were scrapping with each other, and then the brush was just like, haha, I'm here too, haha.
Yeah, so the key thing that the brush did that I wasn't a huge fan of at first, but you know, as the strategy kind of developed and we got to look at it more, because the brush was always on zone, it meant that CSU could never cap.
Mm-hmm.
Because the brush is such a mobile, high paint output force.
Yeah.
So they were essentially playing like a Splash, but more mobile, which, I hadn't really considered before.
Yeah.
But it makes the brush such a high priority target. If your front line is trading even, let's assume they trade like the 52 in the shot.
Yeah.
And they trade like perfectly even. That means also the pencils are doing the exact same thing. That leaves the S-Blast. And an S-Blast is never going to cap against a brush unless the brush doesn't exist.
That's it. Like a brush can just run around and do nothing. But a brush can also, if it wants to, put out an awful lot of paint. And
yes.
I find the other thing with brushes that makes them a little harder to fight is the distraction effort of its actual main paint. Like swinging that brush around makes it hard to figure out what the target is sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. When there's a bunch of stuff flying at your face, you know how there's bloopers in Mario Kart?
Yeah.
Same type of effect,
Yeah.
except it's more effective than a blooper.
Yeah.
Because it actually stops you from seeing, where the blooper is just like, I can see the edge of the track, I just need to keep going around the edge and I'll be fine. But yeah, the brush, it can really distract and discombobulate the other team.
Yeah. And honestly, I like you had said initially too, like I was a little cautious about how it was playing until we saw it all come together. And then it all came together. And we were like, okay, no, actually that makes a lot of sense. The idea here is
good, yes.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things though, like PSU really needed to not get pushed into spawn.
Yes.
That was like a big payoff kind of strategy.
Yeah. In that map, if you get pushed back into plat and you don't have a solid idea of how you're going to retake, it's a very challenging map. And CSU, they had a good comp for retake, but they played it too linearly, in my opinion. They just walked forward in a straight line, and PSU said, "Oh, that's cool. Bye-bye." And they didn't really switch it up. Like, I personally, and not to say it didn't happen, didn't see anyone use like the top left tent or even going far right out of spawn. And when you're locked into plat, you need to get those alternate angles of fire, because if you don't have alternate angles, then it makes the other team it makes you very easy to defend against.
Yeah,
it makes you very predictable.
It's like using those alternate routes, especially. What it does is it pulls focus. So if you are only dropping front, they only have to look here. But if you're dropping left and right, they suddenly have to look at this far, and that's a lot harder to defend against than this. Well,
and also, if you split players up, then it can cause the defenders to be confused and go, "Wait, we're defending left? I thought we were defending right."
Yeah.
And then you can use that confusion. But if you do a if you're just two Roman legions marching at each other, the person with the turf advantage is always going to win.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not always, but 80% of the time is going to win. It then becomes a clutch. Is one of your players going to clutch? And as an analyst, a coach, as a player, I never want to be in a position where I have to clutch.
No, you never want to rely on a clutch. That's not...
If I have to clutch to win a game, that means I've made a lot of poor decisions up to this point.
Yeah.
And like as a player, we always want to make the best possible decisions to win the game in the easiest possible manner. So...
And clutch factor is nice to have, but it's not a thing. You can't rely on it. By virtue of what clutch is. You cannot rely on it. You need something stable to build a base on.
It's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
It works once, maybe twice. But if you need it more than that, you need to go back to the drawing board. Wait.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
No, okay. Just, I thought there was, something there,
No, I'm just like, my brain I don't know. It's just like, yes, lightning in a bottle, the classic video game item.
Well, would you rather be say like Pixie?
I don't know. Man.
You know, like
It's just
Pixie
funny.
or what? That's
Sorry.
that is Legend of Zelda, right? The Pixie in the
Well,
bottle,
it's
I
a
think.
fairy, but yes.
Fairy. I'm not even a gamer.
Sorry, I'm petting a warm cat belly.
Sophie just walked in and just took over the show.
She does. She just does that. She's just a sweet old lady. And then I was petting it and I pulled my hand away and I saw something flail out of the corner of my eye. So I had to see what she wanted.
And with more pets.
Well, yes, she doesn't have claws, so she can't force me to pet her. Oh, are you itchy? Here, let me help.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
She's a good girl.
What do how many results have come in?
Production.
What is the bracket looking like? Production? Is it what can we yap about? Spill the tea. Give us the upsets. Even though that's what we're supposed to be doing. Oh, it does the Swiss thing. Nice. Forgive me. So the graphic only updates when the round ends because this is Swiss. It's modified Swiss though, meaning if you lose 3 times, you're out. So it's almost like triple elim in a kind of sort of roundabout way. Yeah, where if you lose 3 times, you're out. If you win 3 times, you're through, I believe. Hold on, let me consult the graphic again to make sure I'm correct. Yeah. Yeah, so as long as you win 3 times, you're good. But if you lose 3 times, you're not good. So that, yeah, it is triple elim in a weird sort of way with a Swiss face painted onto it. A Swiss mask that we just leave there because if we call it triple elim, eyebrows will be raised. And we don't want that. We want things to be simple. And people like Swiss. They know what it is. They understand it.
That's very fair. I do want to take a moment to mention that we do have a sponsor for CCA, which is wild nowadays. Splatoon with sponsors, I know. But if you'll just hang on 2 seconds, we have a quick video for you from our sponsor. So with the CCA Circuit action heating up, we are very excited to announce that ASUS ROG is the sponsor of the CCA Circuit. Their Esports initiative, a cute name, is giving the CCA Circuit prizing support to our top teams for the season. We're happy to have them join as our prizing sponsor. You can find more about their Elite Awards program by typing in !ASUS, ASUS, in Twitch chat. And thank you to ASUS ROG for their support of the collegiate Splatoon scene. It's always exciting when we get sponsors, you know?
Sponsors don't happen very often.
Yeah.
So having to do actual reads is fun, even though I didn't do it myself, but it was still
it was fun to watch Lily do it.
Fun. Yeah.
I just always think it's neat. I've been around the scene for a long time. I know you have too. And anytime a sponsor pops up, it's whether it's for an event or for a team or for anything, it's just yeah, people care that aren't just us. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, again. It couldn't. Okay, ASUS is also a fantastic company. We use their monitors at LAN, I'm pretty sure. They're great. Thank you.
Actually, the monitor I'm looking at right now is an Asus.
Nice. See, stand by this sponsor. Not because they're giving us money.
Yeah, no. I mean, they didn't give me money. They're going to give the players money, and that's more important.
That's, well, yes.
Well.
You know, that's a different podcast episode.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm just excited. Like, you always have a big event, and then you lead up to something big, and then you have a sponsor to help give prizing, or even just like an individual sponsor, whether it's a company or not. It's just always exciting to be able to reward players for the hard work that they did to get up. And yeah, I just think it's neat.
Yes.
I just think it's neat. Potato. Yeah.
Potato. Frog.
But yeah, and that's it. That's neat. Well, Sophie left me. I don't have anything.
Oh no. Well, we can't talk about Splatoon because it is round 3 is going to be happening soon. We can go in and jump and talk about the maps. This is going to be best of 5.
Yeah.
Because this is going to decide the only 3-0 team to make it out of groups.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, it is best of 5. It's going to start on Rainmaker Scourge. I love Rainmaker.
I hate Rainmaker Scourge.
Rainmaker Scourge is not the best map for it.
Rough.
Rainmaker Scorch, I think, is very interesting, but a lot of teams have trouble with it because we talked a lot on Hagglefish about alternate angles of fire and flanking and how important it is. It is also very, very important on Scorch. There's that mid-grading from where the Rainmaker sits that you can walk across. A lot of teams don't use it. They try to send 4 people up the ramp through first checkpoint. That's not ideal. If you can send people over top mid, one person, all of a sudden the defending team has to manage a lot more because they have 3 people shooting over one side and then a flag, a gnat, if you will. Something that they just gotta, it's not doing much right now, but they want to smack it away. Yeah. Even though they should keep their eye on the Rainmaker that's about to, like, try to push forward. There's just that little, what is that? And if you can play that right as that flanker, this map just gets so much more interesting.
So the problem I have with it, especially compared to something like Undertow Rainmaker, Undertone Rainmaker is very defender-sided, and Scorch Gourd Rainmaker is very attacker-sided.
I don't entirely disagree. I think it's a very attacker-sided. I think it is a attacker-sided. So I do not think it's very attacker-sided.
I think it's very attacker-sided after first check.
Yes.
And that's a problem.
Well, okay.
I think you should have that reversed, where it's attacker-sided before first check and defender-sided after first check.
So
if you want a strong map.
The more I think about it, the more I kind of disagree.
I like that.
So
tell me why.
The right side. The right side out of spawn.
Okay.
If you hold it, it can be very useful, but there's a checkpoint right in front of it from that mid-crossing. So, if you're going to lose first checkpoint, you need to be able to set up there first. Because what that does is that allows us to kind of funnel the other team forward.
Right.
The map only gets attacker-sided when the attacking team holds both checkpoints.
Fair.
But if you can stop them from holding that right side checkpoint, it becomes a lot less attacker-sided because you have to worry about one angle, and it allows us to fire and focus fire into the ramp.
Okay, so let me rephrase then. My teammates suck, and because of that, it's attacker-sided.
And I can't disagree or argue because I don't it's one of the things I don't think a lot of people think about defending after first checkpoint. They just go, oh
which is a
no,
problem.
they broke first checkpoint. Woe is me. Which isn't great. And that's one of the reasons why I personally believe that a lot of people don't enjoy very much of Rainmaker, is because they don't think about it defensively, they think about it offensively. And that's why there are so many KOs and so many pushes to like 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is because it's like I'm trying to think of a good comparison and I can't come up with one that's appropriate for stream. So we're just going to shuffle on past that one and
talk about our teams that are coming up.
Yeah, talk about our teams that are coming up.
Excellent. So our teams coming up are going to be UCSD Gold versus VCU Big Fat Sea Cows. This is a match between two teams who have already gone 2-0. So winning this game here will qualify them immediately for day 2.
Yes. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, someone we haven't seen, Big Fat Sea Cows, which is a great name, by the way. Like, is their logo like a manatee?
Yeah, it's a manatee.
Yes, it's a manatee.
Yeah, it's got a little clam shell on its chest.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, very cute.
Yes, I'm fully here for this.
Not to be biased, but you put a clam in here, I'm suddenly biased.
See, I'm biased towards Rainmaker, Lily's biased towards clams. There's just so much. Where are my unbiased commentators?
No such thing.
If they
so
pretend.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is just gonna be a very important set. So not only is it best of 5, we're giving both teams an opportunity to qualify. So the best of 5 just gives them an extra chance there. So I'm sure anyone who's played the game knows that best of 7 is easier to adapt to than a best of 3. You just have more time.
So best of 7s, a lot of people. You said best of 7 instead of best of 5. I
know, I did that on purpose.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I thought you were...
Listen, a best of 11 is easier to adapt to than a best of 3.
I'm thinking about a best of 7s are an absolute drain. Like,
oh no, it's harder to play, but it's easier to adapt to.
Yes. Well, more adaptation can happen over the course of a longer set. With a best of 3, you have your strategy, and you're going to go in with that strategy, you're going to apply it. With best of 5s, there actually is the ability to kind of counterpick and go, okay, after 2 games, this didn't work, we still have time, let's bring this back. But you can't adapt after a single game in a best of 3. You have to stick to your strategy.
The games are too fast to be able to do that.
Exactly.
So instead you play a best of 37, and then...
No.
How long would that take?
Multiple days. So, like, for reference, like, a best of 5 takes 40 minutes. So a best of 9 would take, like, an hour if we scaled it appropriately. So then, multiply, 9 times...
9, well... Yeah. And, well, it depends on how many games they go to, right? Because best of 37, they would only need to win 18? 19? 19. So, but if we go to game 37...
Ooh. I don't want to think about that. Let's go back to our silly little best of 5, where we have VCU and UCSD. And
this is a reason that I'm not a TO.
So being a TO is half impulse control of going, ooh, I want to do this thing, and then not doing that thing. Someone, on the other hand, who might not have learned impulse control is UCSD.
Who's running an E-liter? A Kraken E-liter?
And a vanilla dapple dualies.
Yeah. An interesting choice. I'm listening.
Beacons are so nice, they decided to run them twice. And personally, I kind of don't see it. I'm like, beacons are good. I don't think they're double good. Especially when we don't have the firepower to win the opening fight.
And I would like to note that we know these players are not one-tricks, because I am looking at their weapon list, and there's a lot of different kinds of weapons here.
So, knowing they're not one tricks is great, but one thing I want to say is Big Fat Sea Cows did an amazing job of picking up the Rainmaker as soon as the fight started swinging in their favor. That's one thing that teams don't do enough of, is picking up the Rainmaker quickly. So they have earned some points from me with that play.
I would like to note, though, that we saw UCSD there pick up the Rainmaker, but the player who did it was the T-Tech, which is a choice. That said, Big Fat Sea Cows here, gathering a little bit of momentum here on the right-hand side and trying to make their way in. It looks like most of the players of UCSD went down, so they were able to at least kind of break that check, but there's not like a little fight happening here, man.
Yeah, so UCSD decided to flank, and it ended up getting a bunch of value because it allowed Big Fat Sea Cows to get pinched. They got collapsed on, and the push ended up stopping. They only lost first checkpoint for what could have been a lot more, given the specials that VCU Big Fat Sea Cows was going to put into it. That being said, I don't know how UCSD is going to push with E-Leader. Because you're gonna get you get this one pick, and now where do we go? And that's the question that they need to have an answer for, and I don't know if they do with 2 minutes or 3 minutes left in the game.
This is what I'm suspecting right here, is that the Kraken will be used as an entry tool. It didn't quite work out in that place because we got a little sidetracked by one player, as opposed to backing up the rest of the team, which is two very different goals. But I think that that's the end goal here, is we get into a good position, we pop the Kraken leads the charge.
Yeah. You see, Big Fat Sea Cows made it over top mid in a breakaway, getting to a 40. Right before that happened, we got a snapshot of the UCSD strategy, which is be annoying and jump back to beacons, and then Big Fat Sea Cows said, okay, and just walked away. They counterplayed it perfectly. That is exactly how you counter beacons, is you just run away from them.
Yeah.
And, like, Big Fat Sea Cows, they are earning more and more respect from me as they continue to play Rainmaker better and better.
There is something to be said for only allowing something a certain amount of value by not giving it any attention. And that's kind of what we did there. We just said, nah. So we do see the pencil here popping its soda pretty quick and then grabbing. So beautiful, not actually, I guess, action economy, but you know what I mean, like priority here from this Rainmaker. Dodging around the Kraken is going to be able to slip past here. I don't think they're going to get very many points on this push. They still have a couple players up, but it's not going to be looking like it's their pop. But they still have enough players up to be able to sit in this mid area and hold ground.
Yeah, so that push is what I like to call an economy push. We're not really looking for points there. All we're looking to do is make UCSD spend resources. If we can make them spend resources, they won't have resources when they try to push back into us. And that's exactly what Big Sea Cows did, is they got UCSD to use a lot of resources, and now UCSD is in mid with no specials, and, like, they have Cooler, but Cooler is not going to get us space, and space is what we need. And now Big Fat Sea Cows, with a better special economy, is looking at these last 30 seconds like really good. They're looking really good.
Well, especially since UCSD still hasn't broken checkpoint. They've managed to touch the Rainmaker a few times, so that breakaway push from Sea Cows really was monstrous.
The shot getting that double with Zuka, even though the other team was Cooler, so they instantly came right back up, getting those players out of position in the last 10 seconds is so important. And if I'm UCSD, they don't have any specials anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, the Cooler gets dropped too. This push, all Big Fat Sea Cows has to do, I think if they just pop Booyah, they just win. And just walk forward as 4 people. Like, just press all of your buttons. Go. Run forward, please. Stop stalling this.
They're just stalling this out a little bit. That Rainmaker only has so many times. And the sword right here with the bubble is going to make a big difference. Yeah, I love how VCU played that. Completely love it. The breakaway push, the consistent pushing back after that, the stall with a sword in position, hilarious. I don't know if I can point to anything specific that UCSD did wrong, aside aside from just maybe not taking quite as many focused opportunities, I guess was what I would say. Like, it felt like they were a little all over the place. Like, you could see some players be like, I have to fight this and this and this and this, and it was a little scattered.
Yes.
Which probably didn't help them.
What I will say, I think UCSD was fighting the uphill battle.
Yes.
I think you pick a Dapple or E-Leader, but not both. Because UCSD, with 2 beacons, doesn't really have a good way to pressure forward.
Absolutely.
So, and what I mean by that also is ledges.
Yeah.
How does UCSD deal with a high ground?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Dapple has a hard time doing it. That's why, like, Dapple Nouveau is generally run. It has Torpedo. It can deal with people above it much easier.
Mm-hmm.
But Vanilla Dapple doesn't have that. It has beacons. And then on the flip side, Custom E-Leader, it also has beacons. Unless it zones, 6 beacons is never going to be better than 3 beacons.
Fair. But yes. And I think we also see a little bit of that, like, distraction scatterbrain as well, a little bit embodied in that one Kraken push, where the Kraken pushed forward and then backed up to deal with singular player. Like, that's the kind of moment where you trust that you've cut off one in a sea of your teammates, and your teammates will deal with that while you maintain the main objective, which should have been using the Kraken to break through a wall. And I feel like they just didn't have the resources they needed because of that 6 beacons, and also just a little bit too unfocused in that first game.
So it'll be interesting to see if UCSD, what they change going into this next game.
Yeah.
Change number 1 is they've decided that Dapples and E-Leader are not to play. They've switched to the Tetra Dualies and the Pencil 5H, I think it is. It's just Pencil.
It's just the normal pencil everyone's used to. It's not the fancy red one. So I will note that I'm a little offended that there's a Tetra player named Blaster. That is not cool. But the Tetra, that said, is going on a little bit of a spree on the right-hand side here. Breaking into that bats area and bringing some teammates with them, is managing to help pick out that pencil. Now aiming for a 10 attack and doing a fantastic job. They do also have a slider on point that they can use if they all survive this wonderful Zuka.
That being said, UCSD not taking the space that the Tetra has so graciously donated to them. There was a sword in their backline, and they didn't deal with it very well, but the Reef Slider gets 2. Blaster is donating even more space. Get them off the Dapple Dualies, put them on the Tetra, they will carry, and they are showing their ability to play extremely well.
Yeah, I don't like how quickly we backed out of that spinner. Especially as a pencil, with a cooler right next to you. You could easily host jumps there for your teammates to get them back in real quick and get a cooler at the same time. I think we gave that up a little too quickly, but maintaining that top mid control is still nice. We do see a couple players coming in over from the right-hand side, the sword going down pretty quickly off screen there, but this maintaining of the spinner area here, they're just trying to make sure it's very clear, which you kind of have to do on this map.
Big Fat Sea Cows seems to be having a lot of issues with the aggressive pressure that's coming out from UCSD. After last game, with the leader, Big Fat Sea Cows didn't really have to deal with that much pressure. They could kind of just take the game by the horns and do whatever they wanted. Now that UCSD is playing a slightly more standard focused composition, Big Fat Sea Cows is having trouble getting off the back foot and just taking initiative forward. Also, something to note about Big Fat Sea Cows compositionally, they don't have a ton of turf, so they're going to be fighting in a much more scrappy manner, and they're going to have to be relying a lot more on positioning and finding high-value turf.
Yeah, and they really are relying on their shot and their pencil to get that turf for them, while the rest kind of pick everything off. I think that's a little bit of a weak point for sure in their composition, but for right now, it's not necessarily a huge flaw. We're only halfway through the game. They've managed to limit UCSD to only 1 push so far, and this sword is... Okay, good jump, my man.
The sword is home free with the wonders of the cooler. Look at the Tetra just dropping in, absolutely no regard for their own personal safety, and they got 2. Okay, if I'm Big Fat Sea Cows, if I'm that machine, I am now just sitting, like, I'm just watching pit. Because the Tetra has shown the willingness to just continuously drop with no regard for one's safety, and thus we need to make it unsafe. We need to stop pretending that the other team won't just drop on us. Absolutely. And we need to do something about it.
And I mean, that's what a good Tetra will do, so not predicting that, I think, is a little bit of a flaw to begin with, but really, it's coming down to Big Fat Sea Cows really just struggling to get the foothold they need to get in, and a lot of that, I think, has to do with those distractics from the Tetras.
Yeah, there's a 2v1 with the machine and the sword, and I thought it was going to go the way of Big Fat Sea Cows, and then they just couldn't seal the deal. The Stamper here from UCSD is just going absolutely crazy. And the basket's open. UCSD managed to put a power in. They defended by being aggressive. And
unfortunately, I think that's what gave Big Fat Sea Cows the opening here. They are managing to get the clams in. They have enough to take a lead. 2 more in will do it. 37-6 on the clock. They do have lead, but it's not what I would call a safe lead by any means. At this point, we need to back up and hold mid.
If I'm Big Fat Sea Cows, I don't know why we actually left.
No. I would be in mid or spinner for sure at this point. Going back all the way to our spinner is a little too far back.
Yeah, Big Fat Sea Cows just gave up the entire map against a team that has been shown, when given the entire map, they will just put an end to your shenanigans. So giving up this much space, not making UCSD fight for it, I think could be a mistake from Big Fat Sea Cows, giving UCSD an opportunity in overtime.
I do wonder if, because of UCSD's quick flank in earlier, if that drove them to move so far back to make sure there wasn't going to be a flank behind them. That said, we are seeing some players coming in real fast here on the right-hand side. A bit of a scrap in mid. This pencil is going to get forward and is not going to open that basket. Just a little too late to make it across there. I don't feel good about that hold, but I feel good about that game, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to put it. There was a lot of... Now, I understand I'm being very critical. There was a lot of opportunities for Big Fat Sea Cow to maintain forward pressure. Yes. And instead they went with again, I'm going to let the other team take initiative on me, and I'm going to do something about that. They played reactively. In general, playing reactively is how you lose games. Because if the other team does something you can't react to, like, I don't know, a reef slider into something.
Oh, hi.
And then everyone dies.
Yes. Yes.
Now they're in the map, and now I'm on the back foot again.
As a general rule, you play better and easier and stronger if you are calling the shots.
Now, okay, I just thought about it. I wonder if Big Fat Sea Cows, the reason they backed up so far is because they recognized their flank control was lacking.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned in game, like that maybe there was an opportunity there. Like we had already seen some players come in on that flank and make it in to get that one quick push, right? So maybe they were just like, yeah, and I don't really blame them for that, especially when they're 2 down. But it still makes me nervous. It makes me nervous to give up strong areas of control. That said, we are up 2-0 right now for Big Fat Sea Cows. It's definitely the strength of the name. So here's what I'm learning today is if you want to win games, you just need a really strong name. So Big Fat Sea Cow is doing a fantastic job so far. Though I always say fantastic job. Both of these games have been very close and very rocky. So I won't even say like it's in the bag for Big Fat Sea Cow, so that UCSD really has to adjust strongly what they've been doing, so much as we need to keep an eye on things for stability. And man, like I don't even know, like both of these Big Fat Sea Cows wins have been playing a patient game, getting a one-off push, and then trying to defend.
Watching UCSD try to run into the gun batteries.
Yeah.
UCSD, it plays a very flank-heavy skirmishy style.
Yes.
And it works very well until it doesn't.
Yes.
And that's kind of what's happened both these games, is they've had a very strong opening, a very strong 3.5 minutes. But then minute 4 comes, and Big Fat Sea Cows goes, okay, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get lead. And on this map, I don't know if UCSD stylistically has the space they need to make this map work. Like, because this flank skirmishing stuff is really hard to play on this map. Because, especially, well, you have to run over mid. You have to run through a choke point that's very easily maintainable. That being said, Big Fat Sea Cows just say, oh, this map is supposed to be hard to play? Let me just walk forward and win.
Hang on, we've got a decaf who wants to pop off. 1 sec.
Yeah.
So, we did have a bit of a decaf pop off. We are seeing a couple players going down, including that decaf, and managed to trade out with a Tetra, and a couple players coming in with specials here on the right-hand side of the map. So UCSD is definitely going to get the flip here, and we are definitely pushing that pencil out. I'm a little sad by how far they backed up. I understand, but I'm still sad. And we are giving UCSD a really good opportunity to set up here. This, I think, is their big chance.
That reef slider was amazing.
They haven't been holding the best throughout these games, but they've been definitely competitive. So I think this is a really good chance for them to be able to take lead.
Yeah, I want to talk about that reef slider for a second.
Yes.
Because it looks like it might not have got a lot of value, but what it did is it brought the Tetras, who weren't relevant to the fight, into the fight very quickly, and it swung a 2v1 into a 2v2 with turf advantage. So even if its benefits were a little abstract, it did give us a lot of benefits. That being said, the Tetra is just doing it again. And they're running in. How did they not get that kill?
Luckily, they have teammates who can get the kills for them. A few trade outs. That means we are in the control for UCSD right now. Going all the way into spawn. I love to see it, especially when we have a cooler active. Beautiful play. And we still are holding top mid pretty well and easily here. So Big Fat Sea Cows has to dislodge them before they can move on zone.
Yeah, the Tetra went in behind the shot, which was very good. Now, but what needs to happen is UCSD needs to sweep through this map and do it again. Because if they can't do it again, they're not going to get lead. That being said, if we lose zone, no matter how many people go down, we're still not going to get lead. Zone gets flipped back, and now UCSD can just swing forward into the other team and change the momentum of the game.
Okay, so we do see a bit of a scrap here on the left-hand side that is going a little crazy. 2 down on each side, only 15 points left on the clock, and this is the only chance Big Fat Sea Cows has. They have to come in now, and I'm not liking all these members of UCSD on zone. It did work out for them, but man, there was a couple times in that game where they were like, people are shooting at zone, let me drop into zone to defend it, and I was like, stop, you have high ground. You have high ground.
Yeah, so, okay, what this game has kind of shown me is I think UCSD is the more mechanically skilled team. In a world where they just run at each other head first and are fighting, UCSD will generally be able to bring it out. However, when it's not just a mechanical game, when we start taking like positioning into account and we start taking objective into account, that's where Big Fat Sea Cows really shines up brighter than UCSD. Yes. Because in the game where UCSD didn't really have to worry about objective all that much, they could just sprint forward without a care in the world, they brought it out.
Yes.
It was still closer than they would probably want it. But they're not completely out of this game.
But I mean, when you're in like 4 divisions of finals of a circuit, like, I'm not surprised these teams are evenly matched. It's not like we're like, checking out round 2 of an SOS where who knows what you're gonna get, So I kind of, it's really exciting and I love to see it. But it's interesting to see how these 2 styles are clashing against each other in a rough way, and it makes it really hard to know who's gonna come out on top, because I don't think either of these teams strictly is like better than the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the fun thing about tournaments. If one
Yes.
team was just better than the other, tournaments wouldn't be very fun.
True.
Because there wouldn't be any unknown factors. There wouldn't be any point to watching the game.
Yeah.
But when teams are close, it's fun because I can say what I think is going to happen, and then something completely different can happen, and that's what's fun. Because if
and that's
I always
called
know
commentators curse.
Yeah, exactly.
Exciting. But yeah, I mean, that said, we're up 2-1, so it's not going to be a straight 3-0 this time. We are getting a little bit of competition out of UCSD, who is going to take us at least to a Game 4. Can we cross our fingers for Game 5? Because I feel like that's exciting.
Game 5 would be very exciting, but first, UCSD has to make it through Game 4. Tower Control Sturgeon Shipyard, a classic map mode from Splatoon 2. I don't think the Tetras do as well on this map.
Yeah.
If I'm UCSD, I'm scared.
If hear me out, if I'm UCSD, I switch that for a crab dapple, crab doodly, and run that instead.
Or even Dapple Nouveau. I think Dapple Nouveau would go crazy on this map.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tetras, maybe they just felt very confident in it. It did go pretty well for them the last couple games.
They have been playing absolutely fantastically on the Tetras release. So even if it's not the ideal weapon for this stage, playing a weapon you are mechanically comfortable on will do more for you in general. That being said, this sword found the best possible blind spot under the pencil.
Yeah, and you watch them calculate it too. You watch them let me adjust here. The pencil cannot hit me. Perfect. Hilarious.
Big fat sea cows seizing the initiative. They got high ground and 3 specials. I think second checkpoint goes down here. Unless...
I absolutely think so, yes. There's not enough specials. There's only one thing up. The beautiful flank here from the Slosher is going to take out a couple on top here. Does not crack that second checkpoint. All right,
the only thing that could have happened to stop Big Fat Sea Cows from cracking second checkpoint was not taking high ground. And Big Fat Sea Cows took one of the high grounds, but not the other high ground. And that other high ground is where this Slosher decided to start their reign of terror.
Oh, okay. I loved that slide in. Beautiful play from the Tetras here, pulling some amazing distraction tactics. Is able to take a couple down with them. The T-Tech last up is probably just desperately trying to build strikes. Or sharking. Yeah, maybe they were sharking too. But either way, I would be desperately trying to build strikes.
Yeah. The sliders from this Tetra have been amazing. They've been so good. Because a lot of times when you see sliders, they're just at a bubble or trying to deny a crab. None of that has happened. They have just been going for plays that influence the fight that their teammates are having.
And what I'm loving too is like the slides are putting them into advantageous positions on top of that.
Yes, very, very solid play. Now the game returns to neutral, I say, right as a stray suction bomb takes out the pencil, taking us into a Big Fat Sea Cow's advantage, and they make sure the other team knows it by walking forward. This Booyah's in an awkward position, probably not going to be able to be used. And UCSD went, wait, we were in disadvantage? Wrong.
Challenge accepted. UCSD back on top here, trying to claim this snipe area for themselves. The machine's going to make this a little difficult. The strike's coming out a little early, but we do have a sword flank on the far left. We're going to have to keep an eye on how that goes.
Yeah, the flank is coming through, looking at Spinner, not able to do anything about it. So the sword gets caught in mid and goes down. Flank not really amounting to anything, but the tower resets into mid. So for a Big Fat Sea Cows, the defense wasn't ideal, but it also wasn't bad, because we got the tower away.
They probably wish I hadn't noticed that flank there. But it's fine, we did instead. The sword coming up again, trying to get that bubble up, putting into a weird position for anyone trying to fight them. That was this insane slide.
That bubble bought a lot of time for Big Fat Sea Cows. Oh, Booyah comes out too, so with the combination of Booyah and people running forward, I think this defense is looking pretty good. That being said, those strikes are awkward. Very awkward.
They were, but the slosh was also awkward and unable to pick them off before the strikes came out, which unfortunately trade bad for the sloshing machine. Now we are seeing more of a scrap in mid. Big Fat Sea Cows knows they're running out of time. They only have a minute left here, and they still have to get most of the way through that second checkpoint.
Tetra goes in, finds one, if I'm Big Fat Sea Cows, what needs to go right for me to win this game? And I think the answer really just is putting pencil on the enemy snipe. If you can get the pencil there, they will probably just win you the game because they'll have a really good angle. Something I've noticed is that when Big Fat Sea Cows push, their pencil is generally cut off from the action. If we can get that pencil active, then instead of being a 3v4, it'll be a 4v4, and Big Fat Sea Cows in 4v4s generally does pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of want to see their pencil on those grates leading to second checkpoint. Like, I don't want them on tower. I want them on the high ground. So I want them on those grates on that box, doing a good job there. But unfortunately, I mean, for UCSD, we're 2 down. So this is going to be Big Fat Sea Cows' last chance, really, for a push. And they're going to have to get in here pretty quickly. The pencil jumps out. Strikes are coming out a little earlier than I'd like to see them. With a flank coming in from behind is going to complicate things a little bit. But the sword is kind of up alone right now.
Yeah, so tower gets struck, but it did stop it. Big Fat Sea Cows. There was a second player there who didn't touch.
Oof.
That you wanted a game 5. And now
I did want a game 5. Yes. I was gonna say oof, that sucks, but no, it doesn't. We got a game 5. This is exciting. This is what I want to see too. Like, if someone's gonna qualify right now for tomorrow, I want them to work for it. You know.
And both these teams are working for it. They're putting in their best possible effort, saying, we want this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, yeah. If I mean, who doesn't want it, right? Like, if you can have the opportunity right now to just lock in, why wouldn't you want to take that? Unless you want more practice. I don't know, maybe you're masochistic and want some more practice.
No, okay. If you want more sets in a tournament for practice, you want to scrim.
I was going to say that you just win and scrim the other people who are also locked in, right? Yeah, that's more reasonable.
That being said, it's Rainmaker Undertow Spillway. And if we recall,
do we?
The last time we played Rainmaker didn't go great for UCSD. That being said, they were playing a composition that they have not played for the rest of the set, which has been serving them much better. It hasn't let Big Fat Sea Cows take as dominant control as they were in Game 1. But Big Fat Sea Cows had really good overall Rainmaker play. They played fundamentally sound, and we didn't really get to see UCSD.
Fair.
So we're kind of going into this Game 5 with the unknown of how are they actually going to maneuver the Rainmaker? What are they looking for to put things in an advantageous position for themselves? So really, I can only favor Big Fat Sea Cows because they just played so much better in game.
True, and we are seeing it now. Those compositions are staying pretty much the same as we have seen in the past few games. No real changes to look out for, honestly. Oh boy. That sword flank going a little bit wrong. 3 down, so this is going to be first checkpoint going down quickly, and perhaps a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure how that pencil got that weird off angle, but it went down pretty quick. So
the pencil.
Oh no! Okay.
Booyah! Big Fat Sea Cows instantly pushing to 19, putting UCSD in the. I don't even know what to say. I don't how. Like, this pencil has to pick it up.
And they're not gonna. But I got really excited there for a second because someone was on grates, and I was like, do they know that they're on grates? So they can do a sneak by and get that? But the pencil's on, or someone's on them. Anyways, we are back in mid, we are popping, we are getting some turf control, but not quite nearly as fast as I would like for them to. The pencil could really just pick up now and use a better weapon than what it has. But that is a pretty good shot.
Okay, we say that, and then they get to pick up.
Yeah, never mind.
Like, someone needs to pick up the fish. Whenever you go 1 down, I'm gonna get on my soapbox here for a second. Whenever the other team goes 1 down, you should be able to brute force a fight win. So, in Rainmaker, that means you have to pick up the fish so you can start moving as quickly as possible and utilize the 60 seconds you get as much as possible. Big Fat Sea Cows goes 3 down. First checkpoint going down for UCSD.
That is a reversal from the situation we saw earlier. UCSD getting into position pretty high up here. They are going to have to look left here shortly. Yeah, there we go. A few shots in on those higher up opponents. It looks like the Rainmaker might opt to take grates here. I think I would probably opt to take raids here. That might be the safer option if we want to get the points we need.
Booyah's coming out. Rainmaker,
why are we... Okay.
Rainmaker backs up because they see the Booyah coming out. Big Fat Sea Cows, while doing a good job of stopping the bleeding, of stemming the flow of points, aren't stopping the Rainmaker. The Rainmaker is just kind of sitting here, biding its time, and they found the window they're going for. Getting under snipe, no way to get That pathing was absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Watching it, I was like, they need to swing close. They need to swing close. They need to swing close. And they just, they heard me. So we are in a very interesting position here. Big Fat Sea Cows and UCSD have both shown that they are very capable of taking a Rainmaker and going quick and getting good points in single pushes. But this is going to be a little bit of an uphill battle now, because getting to 19 is very different from getting to 4.
Yes. So I want to break it down a little bit. The reason the Rainmaker pathing was so insane as we sit here in this neutral, both teams scrapping it out, is because they swung under the ledge. The Rainmaker didn't have anyone who could effectively stop them, because the machine was on high ground anticipating a wide swing. Now, as I'm sure everyone knows, you cannot look straight down in this game. It is one of its many flaws. So, utilizing that to the Rainmaker's advantage is how they got it to 5. And now, will Big Fat Sea Cows also do that, or will they try and use a different strategy?
And this is the rough part here. We still have some time. There's definitely 1:20 left in this game. If you're going to have to pull off a push to 4, you definitely have enough time to do it. One player is moving too fast. No! The shot from above is able to pick them off. We still have a player up and a Zipcast who's about to recall. So we do still have control of mid, so it definitely isn't the end of the game for Big Fat Sea Cows. We could still pull this back.
Yes, it absolutely still could get pulled back, but I think what Big Fat Sea Cows needs to have happen in order for this game to go their way is they need to pressure from the other side of the map. They need to have a well-timed, well-executed flank, and they need to get to the Rainmaker. Like, UCSD is playing this defense, like, perfectly. They're not opening the Rainmaker, so the Rainmaker's not going to reset. If they win the mid-fight, which we know they can, because like they showed off their mechanical prowess earlier on in the series. So if Big Fat Sea Cows can't push through you to get to the Rainmaker, the game just ends. So we might just get to watch 20 seconds of stalemate unless Big Fat Sea Cows finds a miraculous opening.
Yeah, 2 down, 10 seconds to go. We do have some players on the left-hand side. Again, some other players from UCSD holding this left. There's no time to get to that Rainmaker and pop it. That is going to be game. And UCSD, Esports goal.
Reverse sweeping.
Reverse sweeping. Wow, yeah, I completely didn't even catch that. Yeah, that was a complete reverse sweep, and to lock themselves in for day 2.
Yeah, we talked about making changes and an adaptation before we got into this, into the best of 5. UCSD, I think, just kind of wrote the textbook on adaptation. They lost game 1 by a lot, and they're like, okay, this doesn't work. Let's change something. They changed something. They lost again, but not by as much. They said, okay, let's change something else. And then they iterated, and then game 3, it worked.
Yeah.
And then they kept it the same, and it worked game 4. And they kept it the same. And then it got them the win.
You heard it here first, guys. Raze coming to you live, telling you not to play E-Leader.
I know. It's like a trade secret. I don't know why I shared that on stream. Just don't play E-Leader.
Oh my god.
No. Again, not to disparage creativity.
Yes, of course.
Again, I think it was a pick one.
Yes.
A pick and play the E-Leader or play the Dapple.
Yeah.
Not both. And I think that was their problem. But it was definitely interesting to see. I will say that.
It was a ride. Like, working through these two has been interesting. And I really wasn't sure at any point who was going to be able to do what. Because, like, until that last minute, I was pretty uncertain over who was going to take that game.
Well, as soon as I thought I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and then someone would go down, and then another person would go down, and it was all of the sudden, everyone's wiped out. The Rainmaker is pushing a 20. what is going on? The world is ending.
All right, so I am going to say that like some amazing games so far. Congratulations to UCSD to lock themselves in and move on to day 2. We are going to be signing off for now. Don't go anywhere, because in like 2 minutes you'll have some brand new commentators. Very exciting, bringing you some brand new content, some more teams trying to qualify. I've been Splatoon Lily. This has been Raze, not 9 whole grains, sadly, but we'll forgive him for that. And massive shout out to our production, to our sponsors, to CCA as a whole, and we'll see you very soon.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the CCA Circuit. This is day 1, Division 1. We're going to be going into, I believe it is Swiss round 4. My name is Cactus and joining me is the wonderful Vicvillon. Vic, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. We just learned how all these tools work, so we can tell you guys about these teams. We got an exciting day ahead of us here. In fact, we're reaching a point where teams are fighting for their opportunity to move on to the finals right here. There are some teams here, these teams, if they win, they're done. In a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. These teams are going to be fighting for it all. And as you can see right below us, the two teams we're going to be taking a look at in this best of 5 is going to be Old Bay Brigade and UCF Knights, both respectively, of course, of University of Maryland and of Central Florida.
So crazy to see how many players are on these teams. The love for Splatoon at a collegiate level has exploded in these last few years. It's been great to see the CCA working hard to keep these events alive.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we've had incredible amounts of effort put in from the production side, from the school side, from the player side as well. So much interest just continuously growing. And the interest is going to keep growing, especially as we're going to look at our first map mode, which is going to be Clam Blitz on Makomar. What a great map mode to start off on.
Oh, no. The classic. All right, and we're going to go in here. I see, I see we've got a decap on one team, a not on the other. That's exciting to see.
Oh, absolutely. You love the creativity that you see in these team comps.
And they're both there, yo.
I was going to say, I love the double Nautilus on both ends. Applies a lot of forward pressure. You do have the marks for any players that might want to shark around. I do love the change of pace, though, from UCF. Going with the blaster with Splash on the custom blaster. Right off the bat, we are going to see one player get traded off on both ends. The blaster piece making some efforts here to poke on the front end, but the Nautilus with those markers are just making it really hard for any players to kind of poke around, shark around. Unless you're the roller on the side of Old Bay Brigade, just being able to go get a pick and sneak right away.
Oh, UCF is doing a really good job of putting down this paint early on, and they need to do that if they want to keep that roller from jumping around. Honestly, UCF Knights, if they get cornered, they have nowhere really to run. Speaking of running, there's our first jump of the game. Always good to see players jumping out when they have their clam instead of losing it early on.
Absolutely, especially from the cooler player too. By this zap, half to cooler, that's a special you want to be able to have at all times for your teammates, especially when your teammates are going 2 down. Cooler's going to be popped on early, but Old Bay Brigade is taking so much of the map. There is so much orange or yellow just covering the field. You do see these players taking more of an aggressive stance, aggressive hold, but the Nautilus is going to get 2, trading out there at the end. I believe they go down to a curling bomb. It's unfortunate at the end, but still a lot of good back and forth in the center of the map. A lot of specials being popped to hold space. Now it's UCF Knights in the aggressive stance.
You know what I loved there? I loved how all that chip damage just added up on the side of Old Bay Brigade. They may not have been able to make a push, but it felt really good. And if they can keep that coordination coming, here comes those strikes. They just need to get some paint down to be able to push. It doesn't feel like they've been able to get too far in yet, and you know they're wanting that opportunity every minute that passes by.
Oh, absolutely. I think the most interesting part of this is that we're 2 minutes into the game. Not a single team has scored even once. Both teams just looking for that first opportunity to get 2 players down at least and just steamroll forward. But every time one goes down, another goes. They're trying to hold on to the stack here. Another power climb also made by UCF Knights. They have just great clam economy.
Very dangerous to grab it, though. Yeah, UCF Knights hasn't really let Old Bay Brigade hold on to too many clams. As soon as they say that, commentators curse. Oh, and here comes... Oh, this is the pushing opportunity Old Bay Brigade wants. One player going down on the side here. It's time to go. You gotta go. Oh, and there's your 2 down, Cactus.
Yep, there it was, and a nice bubble by the roller to follow suit, getting down the Nautilus, and the roller's going to go on in and chase more players around, holding from the side. 2 power clams scored by Old Bay Brigade, going down to 60. How about another one just for fun? 3 more added, 51 points to 100. 3 players down, and that's actually going to be a delayed wipe following that. And UCF Knights wasted no time pushing to the other end of the map, but they got to wait for the basket to drop. It drops down, the zap goes in, scores the power climb, and UCF Knights gets their push back.
A great escape on the side of their zap player as well. We're going to see our decap hiding around the back here, trying to catch anybody who might be trying to stop this advance. Keeping the basket open, even if you can only throw a couple of clams at a time, is so important. Old Bay Brigade did a great job on their first push of getting down to 51, which meant they needed at least a couple of power clams and some extra clams to be able to tie that up. And we haven't seen UCF Knights able to... Ooh, what a good escape there. This Zap's movement is crazy good.
Yeah, and they're doing exactly what you expect from your cooler player, right? Obviously, Pencil has a little bit more of leverage, being able to just hold down in the back end. Oh, a nice double on both ends. Now it's a 2v2 on the map. But like I was saying, the Zap player is doing a great job at staying alive, collecting that clam economy, getting it when they can. As soon as they say it, the roller comes out of nowhere. Yeah, taking them out. Both players are just kind of trading locations. You see some players from Old Bay Brigade on the one end of UCF Knights and vice versa. And now we are also going to see more players of UCF Knights still taking that space. A lot of blue on the map, a lot of clams being collected, power clam form. Look at see if they get another push going in.
Yeah, this is a good opportunity for UCF Knights here. There might be a lot of paint by the basket, but everything else is ready to go. If they can push in with these extra couple of clams they got, they only need 4 more with 2 players going down on the side of Old Bay Brigade. 1 more clam is all they need. Don't waste any time. Get that clam in, secure that lead, and then just put some more paint down and provide opportunities if you can. The cooler going down here, backing it up a little bit, honestly, very smart. You ever think we'll have a day where Tech Cooler has a limit to how long you can hold it in your hands before you drop it down? Because that was a long time holding that cooler there.
I was gonna say, it was very strategic too to like analyze what was happening around them in that quick pace moment, but they were able to see that if they fall back and pop that cooler, they're able to give it to a lot more of their teammates than just a one and done. And honestly, I'd love to see something that lets you just have to pop that cooler immediately for times like that where you just have to throw it and hope for the best. Strikes are gonna come out now from Old Bay Brigade. We're gonna go into an overtime push. Old Bay Brigade in a really good stance right now. Cooler gets popped. Players are going traded through and through. Splashdown comes in, trying to get a player. Oh, they have to try to go in. They have 10 seconds left in overtime.
Oh, and they have to just bring this clam over. Now, it's the problem is while you're holding that clam, everyone knows where you are. That cooler might be out letting players come back fast, but it's not going to be able to save them from the decaf sitting on the box. That's going to be the first game going to UCF Knights.
You know, when I was looking at the stats between these two teams, UCF Knights has a 91% win rate on Clam Blitz. So seeing that they were able to clutch that, seeing that clutch up, it just further improved for me that these players know what they're doing when it comes to Clam Blitz. I mean, again, Old Bay Brigade as well, 60% for their Clam Blitz, right? So they're still pretty up there, but a 90% win rate in Clam Blitz. I mean, talk about excellent team communication overall and synergy you need for Clam Blitz because of all those claims you have to make for that Clam economy. I mean, we saw it there, down to the wire.
Yeah, I feel like you saw a lot of the time how fast UCF Knights was reacting to the situations they were in. And if they can show that kind of speed in their other matches coming up, they'll continue to get points on the board. This is a best of 5, if I remember correctly, which means they need to win 2 more games to be able to take this home. So this is not over if you're Old Bay Brigade. But do you stay locked in? Do you try to pick up the pace? Do you try to maybe pick some more weapons to put more paint on the ground to slow down UCF Knights? What do you do to keep them from getting these opportunities?
Yeah, it'll be so interesting to see what they want to do if they change anything, right? Because like we saw from that previous game just now, I mean, they was very back and forth. They had a long hold. It was about 2.5 minutes into the game before we saw anyone score. And it was Old Bay Brigade that ended up scoring first. And they had a nice push going forward. And they were actually ramped up for a second. But it just wasn't enough to hold it for the longevity of the game. They unfortunately got halted on out, and they got taken back in the last minute of the game by UCF Knights. And the overtime, unfortunately, just having that power clam, like you said earlier, Vic, it just makes it so hard to push on in when everyone knows where you are.
Yeah, sometimes it's all about juggling. Gotta have only those 7 clams in your hand. But like once you have the big clam, what are you gonna do? Be like, oh, I got this big clam now, I can't do anything about it. But we're moving on to our game number 2 here. We're gonna be at Mahi Mahi Resorts. Flat zones here. A completely different kind of feel from Clam Blitz on Mako Mart, though, when you think about it. Ooh, the ZNF?
Ooh, okay. I love the use for strikes on it as well. Try to combat Old Bays with their Neo Splash, and something I do want to mention about their stats is they're practically neck and neck for win rate on this from 75 to 74.5. So this is going to be certainly a really great match to see, as we see already a lot of sub weapons coming on out onto the field, constantly trading that zone of stalling it out. The blaster will go down, strikes will come on out. You're going to see the roller sneak in with those strikes to going forward. They will pop that bubble. Zone will flip back over, and that short little lead that UCF Knights is now gone to Old Bay Brigade, who now has a really nice hold in the center of the map here.
The aggression that we're seeing out of Old Bay Brigade right now is really good. Their ability to just move up really quickly, keep the enemy team out is great. Although with one player going down, it's going to be the roller player. We see these strikes coming in here. Their pencil player has to back up and get out of there. They're about halfway to their cooler, so staying alive is pretty nice. And as, oh, never mind. Actually, yes, they died. I was looking at the blue team for a second there. That's going to be them going down here, and now we're going to have the opposite situation. You were good at locking the enemy team out, but can you get out of a lockout yourself?
Yeah, especially when this Charger is in prime position for an offensive hold. Staying on this stack here, the best way to get them out is the strikes. Yes, forcing them out of the way, but they're still holding a good distance. A nice trail on the side with the roller to the blaster. We are going to see some paint getting tossed on the zone. Rain will come on out to have to force the players of UCF Knights away from the zone just a little bit, but they will put enough paint on to try to hold it. No! Old Brigade holds on, and they get the cap back over, having to fight this through. 2 players down on UCF Knights, and now make that 3. Blaster barely holding on. Delayed wipeout. Old Bay Brigade is now in a really good position here.
So the thing though, what you saw is when Old Bay Brigade was working their way back in, did you notice that UCF Knights had never really cleared up all the orange paint on the sides? There was still a little bit of orange on the back, and it meant that the moment that Old Bay Brigade was able to make a foothold, they didn't have to take back everything because they had a little bit of ground to work with already. You gotta be careful in zones. It's not just about holding the zone, it's about holding everything. Remember, it's like turf war, except, you know, the middle is just really important.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the surrounding area. If you're in the offensive position, as lead swaps through, you have a lot more paint on the ground, a lot more area drops down. We're down to the last 15 ticks of zone for Old Bay Brigade. They just have to hold on. They're marking these players that are trying to come through. Down goes Ego. 5, 4, 3 ticks left, and that's gonna be the game. Old Bay Brigade ties it up going into game 3.
You can see those zones just showing up a little too late there, but they had an idea, they had a plan. A couple more ticks on the clock, and maybe they would have been able to lock this back up into another fight. But not this time. Not this time for UCF Knights. Not to say they didn't do great, but Old Bay Brigade was able to tie it up.
Yeah, they had a lot of good strategy coming back in from a mix of using their specials like the rain to force the other players from UCF away from the zone, to then rushing into, I think it was a Decav's bubble. I mean, that was a really great play to just like rush them down, get them out of here, and let's hold. And they did exactly.
Bubble kind of really gross, you know? You know, speaking as someone who definitely wasn't, you know, playing a bunch of bubble back at our land, so
Yeah.
innocent whistling, doo-doo-doo.
Bubble players holding a win.
Yay! Yay! Go us! Until, like, you know, somebody has, like, the hammer over at the Nintendo dev team, but I'll enjoy it while I can.
Absolutely. The time that we have for it, enjoy Bubble, its usage to doing so many different things besides protecting your players, but where you pop it on the zone too, like we saw there, the aggressive bubble holds just makes it so hard to put any paint on the zone because it's just covering it.
The Mai zone just isn't a big zone. It's the same thing with, like, let's say, like, umami zones, right? There might be 2 of them, but the bubble is wide enough, especially with some of that special power-up, to really just take the whole thing. You gotta go into the bubble to take the zone, and that's dangerous. When you got a sword and a roller lurking in there, who wants to go in there? It's hard.
Yeah, definitely. It's a risky position to take, and that's where you see a lot of players will end up using things like strikes or even Booyah Bomb with the slight recent buff it got for how fast it comes on out. I mean, you're just going to see it try to be shredded first, worry about the pushing forward and zone second if you're able to, obviously, if time permits. But yeah, risky play, diving into that bubble. It just wouldn't look good if you just go 2 or 3 down, especially against those type of weapons.
You know what? Like, that's the thing, though, is you saw that Old Bay Brigade was successfully able to push back in this time and take it. With the weapons they have, there's, like, having double bubble can be good. but they might have a hard time pushing back in the future if they're stuck with that at the same time. So, like, it's risk and reward.
Yeah, no, definitely. We are getting some word that we're going to have some
Woo.
subs coming on in.
Woo.
So Eggo's going to be out, Vice will be in for UCF, so it'll be a little bit longer before the room and we continue the rest of this match is back
All
up.
right.
But, but yeah, I mean, just taking a look, let's shout out a little bit about these teams for their stats. So Old Bay Brigade holding on strong with that 0.5% they had over UCF with that 75%
Makes
win
a difference,
rate.
right? Just every little bit. Game, 2 games.
And that's all you need. A couple of the map mode win rates we do have with Rainmaker being Old Bay Brigade's top with 71% to UCF Knights 60%. And Tower Control also being a little bit in the middle. UCF had a 62% win rate against Old Bay Brigade's 59%. So, I mean, overall, besides the Clam Blitz game, which also was very close down to the wire.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
both these teams have showed their strength.
Yeah.
And this is, I know that the game set right before this was a 2-3 best of 5. We
that
could
was a
be
doozy.
setting ourselves up for another one of those if we're not careful here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And considering how back and forth it was, like you said, that previous set was such a strong, reverse sweep. This is a very back and forth 1-to-1 game. I mean, really, it's anyone's set to win. And we're going to be going to Tower Control on Inkblot, a staple in competitive. And this is that map this mode that both these teams are very neck and neck at with their win rates. So it could go either way. All it takes is one good push going forward for either of these teams to snowball affect their way to a victory.
I mean, hey, you know us. We're not the biggest TC Inkblot fans. But
so any day I don't have to play it is a day that I'm happy.
Exactly. I'll happily watch it because the back and forth is so real here. The likelihood that you and your teammates have to push back after seeing the enemy team get to 20 is decently high. And you know what also is decently high? The chance that we're about to swap on in to watching this match. I want to see the Nautilus continue to be here. Naut is so good on this map, especially if you can get into back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that they're using, I believe it was Old Bay Brigade I think it was UCF who had the blaster with splashdown instead of them going with a Nautilus, matching it. Having that rain is so useful in general, especially when you're trying to take space. You can have your players go in with that as it does damage and heals your teammates too, but damage to the enemy team while you're pushing forward with that, take that space. We are going to see here Nautilus back out for Old Bay Brigade, and we are going to see Naut again for UCF Knights. So a Naut v Naut on the field.
Very interesting. Both of them using the rain and point sensor one. Honestly, given the weapons that are on both these teams, it kind of makes sense. You don't want to give either of these teams the opportunity to sneak on in, especially on a map like this, where you can kind of dip and dive around a little bit on Inkblot Art Academy. You got 2 different paths you can reach out to go onto the enemy side. And if you can point sensor constantly, you can prevent the enemy team from even thinking about making that push.
Yeah, I mean, both teams have at least one player that is going to be focused on sharking around the map, especially when they push forward, whether that... Oh, nice! I think that was a swap pick on the Charger.
I saw everybody running away there on Old Bay Brigade, and I see now why. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's just only one player left alive. That's Razor, who has strikes online still. They've had it for the past 20 or so seconds, waiting for a good opportunity to use them. And that opportunity is now. Force tower away. Try to push into your bat section on that top area to force the rest of the players out. Absolutely. You see the Nos playing aggressive with their rain, which is exactly what you like to see. A nice trade-off goes there. Just the roller alive. They get one. They're looking for another, but they're behind the tower. And they can't really do too much. But tower's not going to be forced away. You have all these players retreating for the roller behind. Talk about a great stall for Old Bay Brigade.
Honestly, very good there. Keeping those players from being able to continue their push because they have to give attention to the roller player. You can't just let them hang out back there. And here comes the cooler. There goes the cooler. Miku Plush getting a fantastic shot there. The name is just fun to me. I see that. It makes me giggle. It makes me want to go grab mine. Alright, we're gonna see this roller sharking and hoping for an opportunity of getting caught by the aforementioned point sensor, preventing anything from really getting started here just yet. But look at how they're not scared. I think at the same time, they're hoping that by being marked, the enemy team might walk out a different way and get caught. And there's the blaster from behind, completely shutting down this push alongside those strikes.
Wow.
Oh, and the last player jumping away just in time to keep their special a little while longer here. UCF Knights locking this down again.
Yeah, it seems UCF has this map mode figured out. They know how they want to push things forward. Just look at that there. Look at that strategy there. Popping the rain into the bat section, having both of your players go forward with it, and having any players of Old Bay Brigade holding down that top area, just free for the takings. We are going to see the knot here on Old Bay Brigade take down the other, and they're looking for this last player who kind of ran away, unable to really locate them. They might have just fully jumped on it back. Cooler is popped for Old Bay Brigade as UCF Knights is down holding a defensive stance. We do see the blaster flanking on the side. Can they get a good pick with it? No, they will reset. Really good call as you had 3 players fall back to try to take them out.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. On good old Inkblot, and here comes the strikes. Trying to clean up the top here, have to give an opportunity for Old Bay Brigade's players to get up top, but unfortunately the roller player going down is going to slow down their push a little bit. Getting past... Ooh!
That was a nice shot over by the Charger. Strikes will come on out to force some area to free up in the front line, and UCF Knights is doing a great job.
Wow! That was stolen from them, unfortunate.
Oh my goodness. Charger putting in the work at finding these players where they're located, almost hitting the pencil out, but unfortunately getting rushed down by one of the front lines. The blaster goes down to the roller comboed with the splash, and just like that, Old Bay Brigade is looking for another push opportunity with a minute and a half left in the game. If they can just keep the rest of these players staggered on UCF Knights, they might have an opportunity to start pushing for this first checkpoint and hopefully look to clear it.
And here comes Rain also being super duper helpful here. And there goes the checkpoint that you just mentioned, but having to get off very quickly because of these strikes here. Do you notice how these strikes are thrown out really slowly? Just to make sure the tower is held up as long as possible.
Yeah, I mean, stalling it out, and that's the name of the game. And look at what we have here. Old Bay Brigade taking a lot of space, getting the numbers advantage consistently here against UCF. Strikes coming out. One goes down to a splat bomb. One is in front. They trade on through. Hold on. Vic, this is going to be a lead swap for Old Bay Brigade.
It is. Weren't we just talking before about getting you around 20 and having to take it back? Well, here's getting around 20. Does UCF Knights have the opportunity to take it back? They have to take out these players. The Nautilus still hiding here in bats and jumping out, leaving Old Bay Brigade at 18 with 25 seconds left on the clock, and those seconds are going to move down so fast. They're only going to have one push opportunity left here, and if Old Bay Brigade can even tap the tower at overtime, it's all over.
Yeah, and this is like the worst part of tower control too, where how slow that tower has to move on through from the other end of the map. But with specials under lock and ready to go, they're going to try to push things forward and get it, but no! I believe a player of Old Bay Brigade snuck to the tower as the Charger went down. I believe it was to the strikes. And they're gonna take it.
Their coordination was so good there too. You could see both the players that were alive on UCF Knights pushing up onto the enemy base. But by the time they got there, that's when the tower went down. At just that time, so they weren't there to back up their Charger player on the tower. Just unfortunate timing for the players of UCF Knights. Their push taken down in its prime right as overtime started. Right then and there, just like we said.
Yeah, that was such an incredible push by Old Bay Brigade at the end there. They performed that excellently, having those players just staggered out on the side of UCF and just pushing for the map control on the enemy side is exactly what they needed, and it came really close. Mind you, that one player pushing in front of the tower almost got 2 of them down, but luckily it was just a trade-off. The splash stayed alive, and they were able to hold on and get that lead all the way down. And of course, you love the way strikes work in tower control. Your GG special.
Got so many of them. GG Booyah, GG Kraken, GG Strikes.
Yes.
GG Bubble if you try hard enough, you know? The works. But here's the thing. If you are UCF Knights, you're thinking to yourself, you know, man, we kind of had that one. We really did have that one. I know it didn't work. I know it didn't work out in the end, but honest to God, that was our game to take. So next game, we're going to win it. We're going to tie it up. We're going to bring it back to 2-2. They're here representing the University of Central Florida, and they don't want to have to go into that next area where it's like, both these teams are 2-1 right now, correct?
That is correct. You have 2-1. Yep.
This team wants to go 3-1 and be done. They don't want to have to go 2-2 and have to try one more set to be able to take themselves there. As you guys can see, we have the chart on the screen right now for our day 1 modified Swiss. This is not the end for any of these teams. Essentially what happens here is the teams that end up going out of this at 2-2 will end up fighting each other for one last opportunity to go 3-2 and still qualify for tomorrow.
Yeah, and here's a updated graphic as well, just to show you how these teams are placing thus far into day 1 Swiss. A lot of great matches throughout the entire day today, and just plenty of opportunities they have to qual their way right on through. I mean, it's exciting. It's exhilarating. A lot of pressure on the line, and they're performing their absolute best.
Remember that all these teams fought very hard to get here, whether they ended up going 3-0 or 0-3 or anything in between. This was part of a larger circuit to be able to even qualify for this in the first place. Plenty of teams did not make it this far, and I'm sure they'll be clawing to try and have an opportunity to get here next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering they are fighting for this Division 1 section, I mean, being able to sustain that and come back stronger, if not this time around, assuming you're able to, is all the more a goal that they should have, especially, again, at the college level. You gotta love to see it. You love to see the most unique comps as well. And that's something I love about watching these college teams, is they have such unique comps that they're able to run with. You're not seeing your average meta comps that you see on the daily, on your weekend tournaments. This is players that are running weapons that like Nautilus. You don't see a lot of it, and it's exciting that we got the privilege of 2.
I would advocate for more Nautilus. I fight for Nautilus, dude. Every time you're in solo queue, I'm your average NZAP player, so the Nautilus is like the bane of my existence when one's in the room. It outranges me. I get blown up instantaneously. It's a weapon that I don't like to fight, but I do love to watch, and we'll be seeing it here as we're going into a game that could end up being match point for Old Bay Brigade. Welcome back to Day 1 Finals for the CCA Circuit Rainmaker Museum. Let's go.
Let's do it. And things are going to get really interesting here to see. Stat-wise, Old Bay Brigade has a higher percentage win rate against UCF, but again, that is not going to let them slow them down. UCF has the opportunity of every game so far, having an excellent option for offense and defense. So let's see what they're able to pull off. I do love to see the comp changes, by the way, completely by Old Bay Brigade. We're seeing the Vanilla Blob. We're seeing Splashdown Nautilus. We're seeing... that's a cool comp, because we are also seeing a Sploosh that is running forward against the Charger, trying to spot him out. They will get them out. This is a fast, quick-paced game. Old Bay Brigade wants it over and done.
Oh no, dude! They want that 2-2 so bad. They might. They might get it. Okay, they're going down here. We're just gonna slow them down a bit, but it was getting a little crazy for a second there. And where's that hammer going to be used? Are you going to be able to use that without getting blown up? Look at this Sploosh hiding on the wall, trying to avoid being spotted. So unfortunate there that they got caught, because you know they wanted to hammer whoever was going to drop down underneath them next.
Absolutely. And this is a point in the game where you have to think that this might be really, really scary for Old Bay Brigade. And I say that because their entire comp was about moving fast, holding forward, and that's so far still working for them, right? That Sploosh is going and getting that Rainmaker, but again, they're coolest, right? So you're relying on the rest of your teammates to consistently play their life carefully if they need to, as you have UCF Knights that has cooler. But if you're able to play quickly and you're able to play off of these picks very nicely, you should have an opportunity to hold this stronger and even push for a better push. But right now, UCF Knights, by the way, did bring out the Crab Stamper as a change as well to the blast they were carrying out. So it should be interesting to see how they're able to try to push this back forward. As again, Old Bay Brigade just really holding this on, making it really hard for UFC Knights to push forward.
Yeah, as soon as you talked about the stamper, my brain was like, Christmas. It's literally Christmas tree stamper. Makes me so happy. Oh, and a Sploosh again, just walking up there and managing to get the Charger. We're gonna see the Rainmaker getting just a smidgen past that podium, which really hurts when you're UCF Knights, because now you have to pop it and you've got to get it past that ledge on top of that. Like, a little bit more than you might have otherwise. You had to anyway, but... Regardless, here's doing more points coming in. This Blah Blah are actually doing a fantastic job. You have to think about how much sheer popping power they have on this team. Between the Splash, the Sploosh, and the Blah Blah, even if they aren't able to get a super low score, which is hard to do on Museum because every score can be a low score on Museum, honestly. They're just able to burn so much time by keeping the Rainmaker from going forward, from putting all that paint down, from popping the Rainmaker constantly, to being able to push them back. They just need to waste UCF Knight's time, and they can run away with this.
Yeah, and again, there's the Sploosh once again taking down 2 players. I mean, this is something you love to see from a comp like this that is all about fast pace, is they're not slowing down for even a second, no matter what opportunity it is. They are making sure that no matter what happens, at least one player is moving fast, and that every time seems to be that Sploosh. And right now, we are going to see, again, close to more of a further lead. Players are pretty much delayed wipe on UCF. They will push it down to 25.
Great
that is going to be a full
though.
wipeout, though.
The NZAP player, like Drizzy, they were able to stay alive that whole time and make sure that Rainmaker wasn't pushing up any further past 25. If that NZAP player had gone down when they did, I think that game might have been over. So props to Drizzy for doing a fantastic job there of making sure this game is not done. And here comes this Crab Tank here, as UCF Knights is in a great position to get some big points here. If they can only make one push, it could be one really big push. The players on Old Bay Brigade pushed back right now. I don't know if they're ready to stop this. You have the Splatana Stamper here who's trying to defend the Rainmaker carrier, and the Sploosh is down. Again, I repeat, the Beast is down!
I was going to mention that as long as they keep that Sploosh on their radar and know where they are so they don't repeatedly get them down, they're in for a great opportunity. They're stuck, they're trying to go through, but the Blob catches them off by the ramp. They couldn't push it any further. This is a game that's going to be down to the wire right now as UCF is trying to fight for that little bit more they need to go. But with these players moving all around them so quickly, we see the Charger just trying to get a pick on that Sploosh that's just being so ratty around the top mid. 45 seconds up on the clock, Vic. This is going to be really hard for USD Knights to get back in.
Like, this is the run. They only have a couple more chances here before it's over. And what do? Like, you had that pushing power there. You gotta just do it one more time. One more time is all you need.
Yup, and they're looking for this to be the opportunity as that Sploosh was about to take them down, but they were able to catch them off in time. They do know that Blob is the top right, but the Rainmaker doesn't care. They're looking to push it on the front left. They are going to get the Nautilus down. The bomb on the right side's right there. They might go down on the Sprinkler. They go down. It's a 5-point game.
Oh, and with the popping power we know is on the side of Old Bay Brigade, it's not surprising that they're able to stop this here. And the Rainmaker gets away with the Splatana Stamper player being taken down. That's going to be a win for Old Bay Brigade. Their reaction time to grab that Rainmaker and push it out of there. So upsetting to see if you're on the side of UCF Knights. The speed that you've had over the course of these many games. Old Bay Brigade was able to be fast too.
Wow, that was it's so fitting that the player that had grabbed the Rainmaker and ran away with it was the Sploosh.
Of course it was.
It was the Sploosh who just grabbed it, ran away, and just left.
What a good set, though. I had fun watching that one. And you're like, when you're watching that, you wanted to see UCF Knights take it back. That strike, so sad to take them out right then and there because that was their push. They said, you know what? We can push in multiple times too. And they did. They did. They didn't just have one push. They had 2 really good pushes. They had the momentum in their hands. If they had a good, 20, 30 seconds more, I think they would have had another push. And I think they would have gotten that win.
Yeah.
It's so difficult when you're that Splatana Stamper player. You are the last guy alive. You're watching the Rainmaker run away, but you're getting attacked by 3 people at once. You take one swing at the Rainmaker and they don't die. They get away.
Yeah,
we tried.
Exactly. That's all they could say. And honestly, they give it a valuable effort too. I mean, 3-1, I know it seems like a defeating score, but if we look deep dive into those matches, it was such a heartfelt set through and through. UCF Knights did a fantastic job making it really tricky for Old Bay Brigade to try to take their wins. And while they were able to, regardless, I mean, still a fantastic job. You made it this far, and you should be proud of the run you just had.
Oh, it's not like we're one and done for UCF Knights. UCF Knights is going to move on to the other part of our bracket. They're going to be a 2-2 team, which means they get to fight yet another team that has gone 2-2 to try and earn their spot. They have one more opportunity. And with the speed and power that we've seen from UCF Knights, I wouldn't be shocked to see them tomorrow in day 2.
Yeah, I mean, they've been putting in a valiant effort, just putting in so much pressure against what was the cross. Like the ending match there was the craziest switch up I've seen come out of a team. Open Brigade bringing out the fastest comp I think I've seen.
Sploosh? Oh,
I mean, that was evil.
oh. They knew what they were doing. That's the thing. I will always tell people, if you have a plan, play whatever you want. If you have a plan, just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. If you know what you're doing, confidence is going to take you so much further than just playing a weapon because it's good. Of course, you have to be good with the thing that you want to use for the plan. But if you have an idea and you know how to do it, just give it one opportunity. Worst case scenario, you don't win, but you won't know unless you try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part too about having a mix of players when you go to having a college team, right? Is that you get players at all different skill levels that are able to put such an interesting comp together that just works. Sometimes it just works, and you run with it and you have fun. Yeah.
Like, these are the strongest, like, collegiate level players right now. And that's what you want to see. You want to see them fight. You want to give them... This is just an opportunity for these players to meet other players around their skill level from around the world. And if you're these players, you might be reaching out after this is done and be like, yo, that was a crazy scrim. I would have never expected blah blah or sploosh on Rainmaker. Like, can we play you guys sometime just so we can get used to that speed? They didn't even have cooler, and they were playing so fast. Wouldn't you want to be able to fight against a team like that more often, to be able to work on your own speed? Something we know UCF Knights has. That, like, their first game, they were everywhere. They were going. Like, they just need to be able to do that on more maps and more modes. And scrimming against Old Bay would probably be really beneficial for them. And Old Bay would probably benefit from fighting UCF Knights on how to get out of a bad situation, because UCF Knights is really good at locking the other team in when the opportunity arises.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that was such an interesting matchup for both of these sides, being able to have such a, again, what we saw from the past couple of games, right? Pretty much similar mirror comps. You have your aggressor, you have your painter, you have your backline to some extent. You know, you have, if I say, your mid lines that are coming on through, and you have pretty much for the longest time the same strategy to go against it until that last game where you were able to just completely throw your enemy off and through a loop with just bringing out a completely wild comp. So it'd be really interesting to see if these players would just, put into those scrims more and then really just be able to see like, hey, like, these comps are crazy. Like, what made you think of that? What was your goal? And, just kind of like poke the brains out, right? And for all form your own type of concepts, ideas with that.
When you think about it, Collegiate Splatoon is a part of our future of this community, right? There are people that, even though they're busy, I know there are people who are watching this right now. You got your finals this week, next week, maybe not the week after. That's like the holiday season, hopefully. I'm sorry if you have an exam on like the 20th. I guess you could. I guess that's within the realm of possibility. Sorry about that, because yesterday was the 6th, which was a Friday. You could have an exam on the 20th. Hope you don't. Like, these are people that are choosing to put time into this game, fight out these finals, even when they have their own finals to deal with. These are people that play for the love of the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of love of the game, do want to give the shout out that we have, of course, to the sponsor, Asus ROG, for sponsoring the CCA Circuit. They've been doing such great work, of course, supporting the college scene. It's something that we love to see more continuously through the community as well. Just being able to see it at the college level with not only the schools backing them up, but have someone out here being able to support as well from a different perspective is always fantastic to see.
Absolutely. And that means, technically speaking, it's not just the love of the game. It's also for whatever the pricing is. I actually am not aware of the pricing.
You know what? We could...
The pricing is still being sorted out, is from what I've heard. So
being sorted, absolutely. But you know what? enough of like me and Vic tried to give you the information about Asus Rug. Let's go ahead and throw in the lovely video that was put together for us to show to you.
Man, oh man, with that CCA Circuit action heating up, we are very excited to announce that Asus ROG is the sponsor for the CCA Circuit. Their esports initiative has been giving the CCA Circuit prizing support to our top teams for this season, including the teams you're watching right now, because this is Div 1 Finals, and we're happy to have them join in as our prizing sponsor. You can find out more about their Elite Rewards program by typing !ASUS in our Twitch chat. You can do that right now if you wanna. Woo! Thank you, Asus ROG, for their support of the collegiate Splatoon scene. One that we hope continues to grow. And if you right now are like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, coming back to college after taking some time off, going to grad school for all we care, you can play collegiate Splatoon. Go to the CCA Discord, and you could probably find out if your university has a Splatoon team already installed. Some of these colleges have more than one. I was looking into one of the teams we were watching just now, and they had like 3 teams. I didn't realize like how much there was going on. My local university that I went to has a Smash team. Didn't when I was there. Maybe someday they'll have a Splatoon team and I can cheer them on. Woo! Not yet though, but someday maybe. Someday maybe.
Absolutely. And it's incredible to see that this many colleges are continuously growing too with all the teams they have throughout the country, just being able to build up that team from scratch. So many players involved. I mean, we do there from what we're being told, 150 teams this semester alone. I mean, that's mind blowing to think about. Of course, many of those colleges have multiple teams too, but it just goes to show that it's getting to a point, it's so popular that you are seeing a lot more teams pop up and a lot more teams eager to compete at the college level.
Yeah, like Division 1, which we're watching today, we're watching each division of the finals. For those unaware here on the stream, has 16 teams in it. However, these divisions had plenty more teams that didn't make the cut. Teams that, as we mentioned beforehand, will probably be back for more future CCA events because it's a great way to meet people that also love Splatoon, that are also in college, that have an understanding of what you're going through, of the fight you have both inside and outside of Splatoon. I know the CCA kind of started existing right after I finished grad school, and I was like, "Duh! Rats! Rats!" So I've loved to keep up with it. I'm very happy to be here commentating for it because I've watched the CCA grow over the course of these many years, and it's great to see them still going. Summer chat, please make sure to thank your TOs for all the hard work they've been doing for events like this. Like, it's a lot of work, but it's great to see.
Absolutely, Vic. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Something I know
Yeah,
I can say, though, is while we are having fun looking at Division 1, we do have a live look in to Division 2 that we can quickly switch over to just to show you what it's like at these other divisions, too.
stolen Barracudas to get up. They were pushed to 15. That is
So
a
we do see you have
difficult feat to,
UCF Knights
push back from.
rising
And on
from a
top of that, they were
similar
pushed up by a
college as
team
well,
that
and then
was
Golden
never-ending,
Barracudas.
pulling
All
forward.
right, looking at this,
Incredibly
look,
oppressive
you already see the
aggression.
pressure that
But
still
they managed
UCF
to
Knights,
force
regardless,
David
is still
Knight to
putting
find
it at
himself
Div
win. Stay still.
2.
And, after picks like
Nice
this, you guys
Zipcaster
are in a
cancel
what do you do with
on
that?
their anchor,
But
trying to rush it
they
away.
stuck
Just
strong. They
lots
managed to
of great
punish
pressure
the
being
moment
added on
that Knights
through.
Rising did
UCF
not
Barracudas
have Coolers
rushing
to their
through
name,
this
and
Rainmaker, trying to
accelerated
push for that
right
little
here
bit of
during
lead. Can
this
they get it
exact
all the
push
way? And
to
they
get the lead.
do.
Like,
Again, this
the
is over live
Ooh.
through
I have so
at
much respect
Splatoon
for
tourney.
I really do.
So
No,
a great
genuinely though,
score of a
because like
tied game,
they
2-2.
saw the
So
golden
next
string and they
game
said,
for
okay, that's
them
ours. We're gonna be
will
taking that,
win
and we're gonna be
the
taking
set
lead while
going
we're at it.
forward.
And I think it also
I
goes back to
mean,
Knights Rising
considering we
as
saw that
a
little recap
strat
of how
that
that
is
game was
definitely
going,
built to
I can only
overwhelm. Like,
imagine how their sets all over have been just
No man,
heading
and
on
they
for
had
them.
Clamblitz for Game 5. What a shame that we couldn't see that. That game of Clamblitz that we watched here earlier,
Mhm.
that Clamblitz Mako Mart game, it feels like an eon ago when you think about it, right? But
Yeah.
that was a good match. I will always stand by my beliefs that Clamblitz is the best mode to commentate. Sorry, Chad, but it's just a good mode. It's a good mode. I fear every day in my heart, what if there's no Clamblitz in Splatoon 4? I'll fall to my knees. I need to enjoy Clamblitz while I can. Ah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about too with Clam Blitz, from the
Absolutely.
player coordination that you have to have for your clam economy to making
Jumping
sure you're
around.
pushing in. Yeah. Being able to pull out a lot of pressure from different angles to try to score in, depending on the map, to the basket. I mean, some are obviously a little easier than others, but like what we saw earlier with the Mako Mart game, being able to hold pressure on those stacks on the front area, scoring area as well, to make sure you're able to have the players just kind of go in there and score and push things forward. I mean, there's just so much that you could just add on to it with the players being able to pass clams to each other, or seeing who's got special ready and what they're going to do with that power clam. If you ever see players with Zipcaster or Crab Tank or even Booyah Bomb, right, you're going to want that power clam to be on a player that's able to go in with those specials that they might have to create that opening.
All the clams in the world, but if you're not able to put that paint on the ground, where are you going with those clams? That's the
Yeah.
question. Like, people always forget about Turf War. You know, it's the casual mode. Wrong. Incorrect. Being able to put good turf on the ground can take a good team to a great team. Being aware, flashing your map, making sure that random paths that might be used against you, for example, on old hagglefish zones, you gotta go and check to make sure those are painted sometimes. And the same goes for anything on Clamblitz. We were playing Mako Mark Clams beforehand, and you saw the more paths that they had painted, the more ways they could push in. It lets your teammates get into a better spot without everyone having to come in all cramped like in a one place. I know, Splatoon 3's map, sometimes that just happens anyway, but usually there's two ways to go, especially in Clamblitz where, those are usually the ones where the maps are like opened up the most. Smile. So keeping those paths open is super duper important.
Yeah, awareness is key,
Please.
right?
Mhm. And I believe that we're going to be setting up soon for our next match. We're going to be watching one of those 2-2 teams that we were talking about earlier. Because remember, these are teams that have been fighting hard all day. These are teams that are just one game away from deciding if they're going to be qualifying or if they're not going to be making it to day 2 tomorrow. But you know for sure they'll be cheering on their friends, even if they don't make it.
Absolutely. You do see the lovely mix there of 3 different matches to go on for. Of course, at the top, you do see the 3-1 qualifiers, below the 1-3 eliminated on the right side of the screen. And just looking at how far some of these teams have went through for their brackets is just incredible. I mean, fighting all the way, of course, from that 0-0, some great comebacks coming through with those 0-1s or 0-2s, and being able to pull it back this far. They're looking for that opportunity to keep that going.
Curious. I'm kind of like taking a look as I'm staring to see if any team was 0-2 and how far any of those 0-2 teams got. Just because, like, it's fun to see how far they could have gotten. I'm really hungry to try and just find just who got the furthest. I'll have to stare at it longer, mayhaps later. With so many icons on this screen, it goes to show the journey, though. Regardless, the way this is set up is great because every single team here gets to get their hands on at least 3 whole sets.
Yeah. There's a lot of playtime being able to go on through, and we are hearing that the match is going to be for us. As I pull it up right now, they don't take forever to, because I love my loading times. Drexel Dragon Splatoon versus Splatlanders going to be our next matchup, and again, 2-2, looking at how those teams have fought through this bracket, right? You do see for the Splatlanders, fortunately going 0-1 in the beginning, tying it up, winning again for a 2-1, followed by another loss for 2-2. So they're having a pretty even record going back and forth with their wins and losses. And for Drexel, they were down 0-2, about to face elimination, and they have so far reversed their luck. 2-2 brought back. So they are on a redemption arc.
Also, I just looked up on the leaderboard, by the way. It looks like Drexel Dragons came into this as seed number 6, and Splatlanders came into this seed number 7. So these guys truly and dearly are neck and neck.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They are giving it their all, doing what they can, and I do have pulled up for us on the side some some comparisons that we can go through and look through. First, I
Love
would
to
like
see
to
that.
say, coming over from the side of Splatlanders, like we saw previously, a lot of players on that side. Gotta love it. Splatlanders coming in representing the New Jersey Institute of Technology, with Drexel Dragons representing Drexel University. Looks like for their win-loss ratio across all modes is a very slight bump up in general for all 4 for Splatlanders. But with the run that Drexel's been having thus far into the tournament, into the event, into the circuit, I'm confident saying that this is not going to be an easy task. Splatlanders is going to have quite the team on their hands going into this.
Curious. I'm playing the old Google really quick. I want to see where's Drexel from? Oh, they're from Pennsylvania. Wow. So this is a double East Coast stand down here.
About to say it, we
Take
have
a
some
look.
nice East Coast action going down. Who's going to be able to bring it all home? Their entrance coming in, of course, is going to be incredible. So overall, it's about a 58 to 42% average compared to both of them. But like I mentioned, it really could be any team's game coming in from this far. This is only a matter of what is it gonna bring out? What kind of comps are they interested in? What's the morale like, right? What is their synergy going to look like against each other is something that's going to be something to keep an eye out for what the maps will be going into.
Big fan of taking a look at Splatlanders here. It looks like they often have a player who plays a Brella, usually a tent.
Ooh,
They
okay.
also seem to have a wild card player. If you take a look, it looks like there's like one individual who seems we've said Roller, Wiper, Octoshot, Sorella Brella, the Bucket. They just hop around. It seems like they're very consistent on having like a Splatling, and
Mhm.
then usually that tent. And the other 2 players are hippity hoppiting all over the place. Love to see it. We also, unfortunately, it looks like we did miss game 1, and Splatlanders is ahead here, so we're going to be jumping on in to game 2 for you guys here. So we still have, at minimum, 2 matches, at maximum, maybe even 4. Ooh.
Absolutely. I'm curious to see I wonder how that game could have went, how long that match may have gone on for, because it could have been a very long back and forth, especially when it was zones on Robo Ramen. I mean, looking in for those opportunities to come in from any sides through that center for the zone could really speak volumes for how these teams are to compete. Now, our second map mode we are going to be looking at is going to be tower control on the ship shape, which gets very tricky after that first checkpoint. You do have that pit area that your tower unfortunately goes down into, that if you're able to kind of keep the momentum going, you can push all the way to that top right area, which a lot of players love to just kind of sit on, especially AoE weapons like blasters. Speaking of blasters, of course, looking at Drexel's comps that we've seen, you see a lot of mix up between blasters, juniors, dampers, carbon. I mean, you see a like of mixes when it comes to the weapons they're choosing, but a lot of frontline, of course, and their cooler is usually a mix of edit or actually just edit. I'm sorry, I saw that. I thought it was Zap. That is actually just Octoshop. I love being slightly blind.
They've got a mix of weapons there, and that's exciting to watch.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's going to be one of the greatest strengths we're going to see between these two teams is the type of comp they're going to be bringing into it because they do have, like you mentioned before, the wild cards from Splatlanders and a little bit of a wild card from Drexel. So it's going to be interesting matchup to see how they're going to counter each other going into this next game.
Mhm. But now we've got a few seconds left until we see what those comps are actually going to be. Because remember, technically speaking, we're still in the dark here, but not for long.
Absolutely, loading right on up. I love the matching banners coming in from the Splatlanders.
Yeah, that's cute.
I see a roller. The Aku shot's going to be coming on out. We are going to see the Rock Blaster Deco, and the colors are actually reversed, so they will be reversed back soon. But we are seeing on the other end, so like you said, yeah, dualies, T-Tech, of course. We are going to see a Decavitator.
Yeah, and we do see that heavy edit Splatling coming out on the side of Splatlanders, which is what we just were talking about here, and 2 players going down immediately on the side of Splatlanders, and 3 players going down. It seems like Drexel Dragon Splatoon does not want to go down without a fight. They said, hey, nobody got to see that last game, so we're going to put on our show now that people are watching.
Yeah, I loved at the end there, Jerry was just really holding on that 1v3, getting a pick and then jumping on it back. A lot of chip damage being poked by that Rapid Blaster Deco. And it's unfortunately not enough, though, to stop Drexel's push. Look at that. Another delayed wipeout on the side of Splatlanders. Drexel is still pushing this forward. They have bubble ready for this checkpoint as well. They will pop it, but Strikes will come out to force the tower away just a little bit.
Break the bubble. That's so sad. I'm going down immediately. Oh, and the roller breaking that bubble just in time to get 2 players there. I can bet you that the players on Drexel thought they were safe being there, but that bubble's really weak from that strike. So it kind of, you know, win some, lose some there. And we're going to see this player now starting to sharky, this roller player trying to find the opportunity here, trying to catch somebody to make a fight into a little bit more of a W there. Hiding in this bubble, I'm sure the people know that they're there, but again, it's so hard to approach a roller when they're inside of a bubble. But thankfully, they came out, so Maxim was able to get that catch.
Yeah, we are going to see the Blaster be able to get a nice pick there, but with the Decavitator rushing that tower, they're barely just trying to hold on. Roller jumps in, but it goes down as well. It's unfortunately going to be a push that gets halted right off the bat for Splatlanders. Drexel now pushing the tower back in the other direction with 2 specials on the line. Splatlanders now able to find that footing right away.
Oh, and unfortunately, Drexel Dragons here, they just have such a strong hold right now. Splatlanders has to be able to get that and get that tower in far. Oh, this is TC, so anything can happen. All you need to do is keep holding Drexel from taking this game until you have that one good push. Love the fresh fish outfit also right now. I don't know if you noticed that one going on here.
Yeah, it's I love the type of outfits that they just choose on to push through.
Good picks.
I gotta say, yeah, great pick there right off the bat. Splatlanders, of course, going to apply more pressure here together and being able to apply some pressure to that top left side, trying to get the players going in. Unfortunately, one will go down. Roller trying to go on forward, but gets caught out by Grace. And now with the whale coming out, being able to secure one, goes down to the Decavitator, trades that through. A lot of trades going on right now.
Yeah, and this is what you want to do if you're on the side of Drexel. You don't want to give Splatlanders the time to start making those picks. If they're always being taken out, they don't have the chance to do anything. But you got this heavy edit in a very scary spot here. The tower protected by the bubble, bringing out the wrath of all 3 strikes at once, just to make sure that it's not standing up there. And now a reverse strike coming out here, but Splatlanders doesn't... Oh, as soon as I say that, they grab the tower. Never mind, never mind. Now here's the thing. Both teams do have a heavy edit, so it's not like either has a range disadvantage going here. You need one heavy edit to get taken out, but so the other team can continue their push.
Yeah, and speaking of continued push, we are going to see a lot of staggering coming from Drexel. They have bubble ready.
Ooh, this is not good, actually.
Wait, this might be the reverse. Yes, lead is taken. Splatlanders now pushing on forward. They're just about there. Strikes will come on out. Player goes down. The strikes are not spaced on the tower enough. It is a 1 point remaining from a KO.
It's a 1v2 right now. Ooh, what a save.
Wow.
That almost went sour really quick. I mean, technically speaking, you could say it still did, but this is a game that isn't over yet. We've seen Drexel Dragons be really good at pushing up in this game. They're going to have to take it all the way to a knockout, and I don't think it's outside their realm of possibility. The dueling player trying their best to survive there because they surely wanted that crab, but it's okay. They can get the crab again. They can push up with it in the future. A good pick here. 2 players going down on the side of Splatlanders. 3 going down on the side of Splatlanders. This is the push I was talking about that they need if they want to be able to take this all the way to 0.
Yeah, and with specials online, they have the capability of doing that, right? You have strikes to push some players back. They're going to pop those a little bit slowly just to push them into a direction they want, right? You are going to see, unfortunately, the duelies go down. Oh, and the edit goes down too. It's just going to be a 2v3 on the map. The edit will take out the T-Tech, making this a little bit tricky for Drexel to have to go on in. They're going to try to get the roller, but the roller will land on them. Only 10 more ticks to go, Vic, and this might be Splatlanders' game.
I think you're going to be right here. Splatlanders just has to keep that tower from getting pushed again, and they'll be able to take this to a resounding 2-0 here. The Whales coming out, taking out a player, and they're going to hop on the tower, and that's going to be it. Wow. One good push is all you need sometimes, and that was one good push. Look at all the paint that Drexel had down there. If they got that push started, I think there was a lot that could have happened. And I think Drexel Dragons Splatoon is going to go into this 3rd game thinking, you know what? We can do this. We can still take this back.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely doable.
Listen, they fought their way up here. From that 0-2 to that 2-2. They are not going down that easily. And they have not been playing poorly in these matches either. This match that we just watched, they had the lead for the majority of that game. All they gotta do is hold it from the start to the end. Or, you know, do it like Splatlanders did and just take it back at the end. Works too.
Yeah, exactly, right? We love a little bit of a reverse sweep in that match, not just set-wise, but match-wise. All the way down to 20 was an incredible push in the beginning. But the defense, unfortunately, for Drexel was unfortunately fumbling just a little bit, right? And that's what Splatlanders saw and capitalized on it instantly, right? You saw those players going in, rushing forward, taking that space. You saw their special usage being able to strike the players away, have that bubble for the checkpoint, being able to use their range advantage or just the use of their specials to create that space. I mean, they did a fantastic job at getting that all the way down to 1.
Ooh. And you saw the Drexel players were playing smart. Like that one duelie player who, they went to the side, they built their crab, they were climbing up the wall, ready to position him. Oops. They got caught before they were able to do it. It doesn't take away from what they were trying to do. It doesn't mean that they're not a smart player for trying that. It just means they got caught before they were able to pull it off. Maybe this time they'll get to. Do we see the return of Crab Duelie? That's the question. It's fun and it can work. Might depend on what the next map mode is.
Yeah. Depends if it's going to be sufficient enough for the crab. If not, I mean, we could see the regular duelists come through.
You even see that here.
Rainmaker Manta.
This is a crab map. You could have the crab here.
If you're able to position that crab onto the bunker or even the grate to keep the pressure on the sides when you're running through the Rainmaker, through the alley section, or if you want to take the risky flank jump area, I mean, you could really steamroll forward as that crab has a lot of range. I think it has Hydra range, right? So you're applying a lot further pressure with that special, and all you lose a front line for a little bit. You still keep that pressure going exactly what you need, especially if you're going to have like someone like your edit pick up the Rainmaker.
We go here. We're going to find our friends out and about here. Rainmaker, Manta Maria. Oh, there's the tent. There's the Splatlanders tent that I was talking about beforehand here. Wow, and this is definitely 2 very different comps here.
Yeah, I mean, you also see Jerry on the side of Splatlanders bringing out the Splatana Wiper for a difference. That is going to have hammer, so they are going to see maybe some hammer plays coming on through. And it's going to be the same comp coming out of Drexel.
You have 3 weapons, honestly, on the side of Drexel that don't want to interact with hammer. Like, Shot does not want to interact with hammer. The hammer's running at you, it's already GG's. Duelie, hammer running at you, it's probably GG's. You can trade! You can trade if you're the Splatana.
Oh my
no!
Oh no! The triple with the Bazooka. All those players were lined up and taken out in a second. That is so unfortunate. It's just what I was about to say too, that Drexel had a great push opening there. But now the Splatlanders have that perfect opportunity that they hold on to the center of the map now.
Yeah, that was the Zuka, wasn't it? I assumed.
Yeah.
The blasts look pretty similar, all right? Here comes that hammer that I was talking about here. Oh, and there goes the hammer I was talking about here. And Drexel's going to be able to run away with it, not being able to be stopped before they get to the...
They fill up the map. They fill up the map.
So sad.
is
I know
so
that
unlucky.
feeling. They had such a great listen. If they keep that speed up, they can absolutely take this. After all,
Yeah.
Drexel Dragons is the only team here that's putting some points down so far. Splatlanders still with nothing, trying to find a foothold here on Manta Maria. We have the roller player trying to push up here, unfortunately missing that vertical by just a smidge. Now you got that sharking player on the side. Can that jump be made? No! Not being able to reach by just 1 point. Max Mix stopping that in its tracks.
Yeah, a 1 point difference 2 minutes into the game. That's all it is. Rainmaker will be picked up by Drexel, though. Looking for another opportunity to go on in. They have the Wiper on the side. They get rid of them. Edit holding strong in the bunker. They're going to try to push them out of the way. They will. It's just the Tent trying to hold that front line, but Grace is going on in, but gets picked by Cyan on the roller. Cyan gets two, goes down, though. Nice. Checkpoint clear. Oh, but a wipeout. I don't know if you want that happening.
On this map mode, that can be difficult. Listen, we're players who were hanging out a long time ago. Manta Maria Rainmaker is unforgiving, but that swipe from the Decapitator, even more unforgiving. Ay. Two players going down here, but can the Rainmaker be stopped before it gets popped here? You gotta go back for that Rainmaker, because if someone lands on that and moves forward, that's gonna be the lead switch that Splatlanders needs to secure this. Are they gonna go for the grab? Here comes the Tent coming around the back. All they do is grab and run. Just do it. Don't be afraid. You gotta just go. You gotta grab it.
They
so
don't
sad.
grab it. I see the vision, though, right? You having a lot of your specials pop, and especially from the Tent, right? You're gonna have Zuka pop to try to get rid of the player in the front. You're gonna try to apply pressure. I think what they tried to do, honestly, Vic, was they tried to put the shield above the pedestal to push the Rainmaker forward. But when it didn't, they just Zuka it. They said, I can't, I'm stuck, I have no choice.
Yeah, there really wasn't much more for them to do there. You see, it's easy to backseat when you're the one watching the fight.
Yeah, you see exactly what happens. You know what you want to do, but you know you can't.
If I was playing the Tent, trust me, I also would not have been able to pull it off. So, you know what? Props to them for their best efforts. We have one player going down on both sides here. This dueling player trying to get a couple of... Wow! Running into that and getting a couple of really good picks here. And the Rainmaker's gonna get picked!
They're sneaking through for a short little bit of lead. And now, again, that's not a winnable lead, but with the type of game that we've been seeing so far, this might be enough. Oh, and Cyan is there sharking through, gets one, looking for another, but gets picked off. I believe they were cool it up, though, so we'll be back fast. But we are going to see the opportunity for Splatlanders to try to just keep pushing this forward, as Tent's going to grab it, go with their Tent shield. They're slowly running and get another pick. They're still up.
Oh, and that's a lot of points for Splatlanders here. Drexel with 1 minute left on the clock, pulling out this crab tank, trying to clear out their street, but there are still players in there, so they can't advance up there very safely. This Tent taking a lot of space here. Oh, and there's the Tent in front of the Rainmaker, trying to do what they wanted to do beforehand. Unfortunately, getting taken down. 3 players down on the side of Splatlanders here. I don't know if they see. I don't think they do. Oh,
and they live. They get the Rainmaker looking for another pick. Can they try to follow it off, or will they jump out in time? They will go for another one. They chose to stay.
That was great on their part there. Wasting Drexel's time. Oh, and there's the Zuka, like, firing in the direction of the Rainmaker. Oh, wow. You know, if somebody had picked up that Rainmaker, they would have taken them out. That's wild. Now, here's the thing. Do you let the Rainmaker reset here? Are you able to grab the Rainmaker in these 5 seconds?
They have to try to go for it.
They have to grab it. They gotta back up, get behind the crab tank so they don't get caught. That hammer rushing out into the field. A player behind them. Do they see the Tent? The crab tank was a great defensive system there to keep that Rainmaker player alive. But now if anybody jumps down on them, it could be over, and that's gonna be it.
Wow. I mean, just what I was going to say, that 50 is not a winnable lead. That for sure was by Splatlanders. I mean,
and then also 28 was too.
Yeah, no, 100%. 28 for sure. I mean, that was an incredible match displayed for Splatlanders. They were able to make great work of those situations. It's just unfortunate for Drexel. It wasn't enough for them to be able to bring that home. That they might have had that at the end there if they were able to clear those players just kind of running forward for that Rainmaker.
There was at least one on like the far right-hand side that was absolutely waiting for the opportunity to strike, and they did. I believe it was the Tent player who was kind of ready to go to catch them. That Tent player putting in great work during that game, taking huge swaths of turf just by letting that by letting that Tent shield just run forward. It's what it does. It's what a Tent do.
Yeah, and they played it so smart too. I love that display we just saw
Absolutely.
from the tent user, grabbing the Rainmaker, going in your
Mhm.
tent shield. The Decapitator comes behind you to try to pick you off, and then you, of course, in your tent shield, you just pre-fire there and you win that, right? And that was a great
Mhm.
display. They dropped down too, and that's also another key factor is that they were able to put their feet on the ground from that drop, which led up to a massive point get to 28, which was incredible.
Yeah, fantastic game from both these teams. Fantastic set from both these teams. That 3-0 does not tell the story. You see the 3-0 and you're like, oh, okay. Splatlanders. No. No. Drexel was fighting hard in that game.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't win, they were there. And you have to remember their story. They were down 0-2. And they
Yep.
came back and they're ending their run in the CCA finals in Division 1. In Division 1 at 2-3. They had to earn their place here at first. They had to fight all the way up, and even if they came a little bit short, they should be proud of what they did.
Yeah, especially the performance they put on today. It's not easy being able to say you were down 0-2 and you brought it all the way back almost to a complete 3-2 finish. So being able to have that kind of almost Cinderella run, as some will call it, to come on back and apply that a type of locked in moment where you're able to bring it to this set, right? And unfortunately,
Yeah.
Splatlanders, of course, was kind of in their back and forth for their wins and losses. They had a similar feat where it's like any moment might have been the moment that they were done.
Mhm.
But on their
This was
side,
do or
they did
die.
it. Yeah.
And like they fought. There's more to come as well. These teams that made it to day 2, they will be back tomorrow for more action. I believe starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific. It's a double elim tournament, and we're gonna go until one team is the winner. One team is left on top, and it could be one of the teams that we saw today, for all you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and other teams are still available.
Mm.
For other live look-ins as well. Like, let's take a look here. Of course, at our bracket, what we're seeing, you do see 2 other sets looking to be finished coming on through. It is Splatlanders who were able to take that first qualified spot in the center there. So again, congrats to them being able to rep New Jersey and their school, securing that qualified going into tomorrow. I mean, just looking at how full this graphic is, just how in the beginning it was so empty, and the paths that a lot of these teams had to take to get here.
We went down from, I believe, starting at 16 teams and brought it down to just 8.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much work had to go in to determining who would move on. Remember, this is much more than your standard just double elimination setup here. Some of these teams, like the team that we just watched, played 5 whole sets to determine how far they could go. To let teams have a chance to pull it back like Drexel almost did. It's a great thing to watch. It's a fantastic set.
Absolutely. And if you're watching this and you loved a lot, maybe any of those
Mhm.
teams that you've watched so far or anything that you maybe saw on that graphic for other teams, feel free to, of course, check out through CCA a lot of their information they have available, more about these
Mhm.
teams, more about the players, more about the college that they have. And like Vic said way earlier, before the set started, is that look at to see your own colleges if they maybe are closing in on putting a Splatoon team together or if they already have one. And maybe they just need that one more player that could be you to solidify the roster and compete at events like this. The CCA, who have been just fantastic. Huge shout out to all of the production and the team in general to putting this all on and having us on, because this is incredible.
Make sure to thank your TOs, guys. Make sure to thank your staff.
Yes.
And make sure that, I don't know, you have a good one. We love comp Splatoon here. And you could be the person with the smarts up in your noggin to get a team started. What if there are people at your school that really like Splatoon but don't know about the CCA? It happens,
Hmm.
right? They might not think to actually go on Google and look it up. They might assume, oh man, the game isn't big enough here. Why would there be a giant competitive Splatoon collegiate association? If there was, I'd know about it, right?
Yeah. It's actually so funny you say that because I've had my own experiences with that. Of course, the Splatlanders I know from the NJIT, but I've had people that I know in real life who attend that college, and because they know I talk about Splatoon with them, have come up to me and say, you know, I didn't know New Jersey has Splatoon teams, and it's crazy. I'm like, yes. Yes, you see it. It's so funny because they don't play Splatoon, but it's incredible to see that they're gamers and they love supporting their school and their esports teams. So being able to show that they're also interested in seeing what else their school has to offer always brings in more players and more people to just look into how this works. And I love that.
For a reason, if you and some people are genuinely interested in just making a team, even if you guys aren't like the cream of the crop, that's how you get better. By exposing yourself to teams above and below your skill level, you can figure out where you are and continue to grow as players and as a team. Like, college is so much more fun when you're doing something on the side that makes you happy. And maybe for you, that might end up being playing some comp Splatoon. Like, if you're just studying all day long, some people are down to clown with that. Especially in graduate school, I threw everything I was doing to the side, and I was in the books, and I was on the YouTubes. I was in the books and on the YouTubes. That was like the two things I was doing, and my job. I was doing those three things, actually. I'm thinking about it. And like, comp Splatoon was like the thing I looked forward to doing. But at the time, the collegiate scene, maybe it was there, I just didn't know. I mean, this is like 2018, so I genuinely think it might not have really been there very much yet. But it was starting to go, especially as we got closer to the start of this decade, and now it's flourishing. Can you imagine where collegiate Splatoon might be by the time we're in like 2030 and like Splatoon 5? Does that sentence make you ill, Chad? I hope it doesn't, but that's the future. That's the future. Who knows where Splatoon might be by then? We have the opportunity to keep it alive and keep it strong. And if you're in college right now on one of these teams, thinking about joining one of these teams, thinking about making your own team, thinking about watching more of these tournaments even if you never plan to play comp Splatoon in your life, you're supporting the future of Splatoon. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, without the players, this wouldn't be here, right? Having that interest is it's all it starts, right? It always starts with just one idea, and that interest to say, I want to play Splatoon for my school. And even in high schools, right? Even high schools are starting to show a little bit more, and they have the opportunity to push on forward further with it. So I love seeing that.
Splatoon 3 has like really pushed like high school level Splatoon. There was like a big tournament that was happening when the game first came out. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I know it was there because I remember seeing a couple of funnier posts related to it that I won't mention on stream, but people were talking about it, and I don't really know how far they went. But, if the interest stays high, Nintendo could do it again when 4 comes out in like another year or two.
Yeah.
As oh man, we did have 150 teams playing in just this circuit alone, and we know the CCA is much more than just that.
Yeah, exactly.
So many people.
And with 150 this semester, going into day 2 for Division 1 will be 8. Crazy number to think about. 8 out of 150 for college Splatoon have made it this far. And tomorrow, they go for it all.
And we'll have 8 more teams, I believe, in Div 2, Div 3, and Div 4. Split across 4 different streams for you guys, by the way. So tune in and check out the other streams as well. That's how you can see all the CCA Circuit action. Thank you guys for giving us your time, for supporting CCA. It's been a wild ride.
Absolutely. So, Vic, that's going to do it for you and I here. So, where can the people find you, Vic? Where can we find you to support?
Thankfully, my username tends to not be taken in places because it's just a pun. So you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Blue Sky, you can find me on YouTube, all under the same name, VicVillon. No, there is not a third I in Vicvillon, but don't worry. It's okay. It's okay if you thought there was. It happens to a lot of people. Happy to be here.
Vic, it was such a pleasure to be able to commentate with you. As always, we always have a good time, whether it's at LAN or it's here. As for myself, you can find me pretty much similar on all social medias at Glitched Cactus, the YouTubes, the Twitch, social medias like Blue Sky and Twitter. Or with my podcast, The Cactus Patch. Thank you to
Yay!
Depth Productions that helps me put that together. So talk about a variety of topics through the community and have some amazing guests on continuously.
Yeah, you get so many great guests from like the comps like community in general. We've had everyone in there, from Metro to just related to
Metro, we've had
LAN.
top level,
Man.
we've had a great mix of it all.
Great listen.
And just maybe once CCA Circuit concludes, might have to have some special guests on.
Ooh.
But that'll be for a story for another day. But for now, that's gonna do it from Vic and I over here at Division 1, Day 1 of CCA Circuit. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to production for putting this on. And we'll see all of you back tomorrow for Day 2.
1 p.m. Eastern. Always good to have a time.